What's up? It's May 23rd, Sunday. I'm here with my trusted cohort, Tyler.
What's up, JP? Hi, I'm here.
Hey, I'm feeling it today, if you know what I'm saying. We
Yes.
got Nate, the great Mortimer, in my other corner here. As always, my trusted ally in arms. What's going on, Nate?
What's up, man?
So Tyler's going to be moderating today. I know in the past we've done a couple Mass Effect related podcasts that kind of took over.
Wait. I thought this was a Mass Effect only podcast.
It could be. I mean,
we might dive back into
I don't
that.
know
We'll
if we'll go down that road, but start with what you know. That's like the common adage there. Tyler, what do we got on deck today? Why don't you kind of run us through what we're looking at here?
Yeah, so we're a couple episodes in. We realized that people that know us, and that's fine. But
That's
anyone that is listening to that, hello, welcome to the
newcomers.
show.
Yes.
But we thought that it'd be cool to dive into our history back when we were younger kids and essentially talk about like what brought us into video games, what kind of grabbed our attention in the channel and medium of gaming as a whole.
A nice introduction, as you might say,
of who we are. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like we are a pretty. I'm going to go out and say diverse group.
I would agree.
Just from a interest, age, all that stuff.
Yeah, I think we check a lot of boxes.
I think so. I think there are always more boxes to check, but
Absolutely.
we have who we have.
I mean, you have three people. You're only going to
Yeah,
check somebody.
sure, right.
We have a good age range. We have a good perspective range. I think it's good. I think we'll learn a lot about each other and ourselves in this episode.
I'm
think we
looking
will.
forward to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what do you got?
So I wrote some questions down.
Lead off here for us.
Yeah. And we can go about this in different ways, but I thought that a good intro question would be, what's the first game you remember playing? Not necessarily the one that spoke to you that was like, oh my gosh, I'm into
Right.
video games or anything, but
Right.
what is your first hit of a video game? Now that could be a Tiger Electronics game if you're going back to kind of
Wow.
my day,
Right. Yeah.
but
Now, this is tough. We did not hear these questions beforehand.
we didn't. And I'm sorry. I could
No,
start
that's good.
throwing
I
things
think that's
out if
good. We
need
get it
to.
off the
Okay.
cuff. I think that's when you're getting your most honest. You have
I
something?
know,
Yeah.
like for fact, what that
Yes.
instance
Start
was,
us off.
right?
Beautiful. Yes.
So I was super young. Don't remember how young. I was probably 2, 3, 4 years old.
Mhm.
Like I was super young.
Yeah.
We had this big CRTV. It was brown. It had like wood paneling down the one side, and it had dials, not like buttons or switches,
Wow.
right? And it was in our basement, and my dad had this workshop in our basement. So to paint like a picture, right? There was a set of stairs that led down from our kitchen in the basement, split into two halves. The right half was like a really scary place with a bunch of cobwebs and stuff. We never went there. In the laundry room, and then the left side was like the kids' playroom, right? So they had all our toys in there and stuff. And my dad's workshop was also in there, and that was like a sacred place. Like that's where all the dangerous stuff was. There were 2 padlocks on it. The door was locked all the time. Like it was not a place we were allowed to go in. So my dad, who's notorious for not finishing projects, was starting a project while my mom was in the hospital or out doing something. If she was in the hospital, it was because she was having my sister.
That's two.
But,
very
like,
different
I was going to
things,
say
by the way.
that is a range.
Well,
of
so
things. She
here's
was
the
either
thing.
in the hospital or running
If she was
errands.
so yeah, here's the thing. If she was in the hospital,
It's either
she
one
was
or the other
having
with that woman.
She
I
was
mean, who
having my
knows?
sister, and I remember specifically whenever my parents had the older of my 2 sisters, my dad tore up the entire dining room while she was in the hospital. So
Whoa.
gotta keep
because
busy.
And
right?
you didn't
Like-
finish that one?
No.
Oh, man, that's rough. Yeah, you don't want
she
to.
came home. There's video of her, like like the old video recorders, like the VHS ones, but they had the little mini
Mhm, mhm.
VHSs
Yeah,
that go into
yeah,
the big
yep.
VHSs. I remember watching one of those when we were converting all of those over to DVD. Of my mom coming home for the first time with Rochelle, and her literally opening the door and going, "Sam, what did you do?"
So she didn't just start weeping immediately.
That's when you
Your poor-
don't want to start that project
Yeah.
if you're not
Poor mother.
finishing it. Yeah,
So-
that's rip.
I think my dad was doing that, or it was the year after, and he was starting some other project that was obviously going to upset her. But he was opening the very dangerous room, and I was super curious. I was in that I want to kill myself because I'm 4 years old and nothing will kill me age.
Absolutely.
And he found an old Nintendo, like NES, in there, and he hooked it up to the old CRTV, and he sat me down and he handed me the controller, and I the Mario Duck Hunt combo,
Yep.
right?
Oh.
Yeah.
So he hooked up the little light gun, and he hooked up, the little controller, and he let me shoot at ducks all day. And then whenever I was like getting bored and going to bug him, he'd switch it over to Mario. And then whenever I got bored with Mario, I'd go back to the duck hunt. And he just kind of kept me out of that room all day by doing that. But like
That is revealing, by the way. That reveals so much about you. That you started with Duck Hunt tells me so much. It makes perfect sense now.
So long story short, like he put me on that train, and I feel like we always make fun of like modern day parents for babysitting with like their phones and TV and stuff, but like my dad modern day babysat me when I was a child so he could piss my mom off by tearing up the floors.
Ahead of his time, really. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Duck Hunt and Mario. Is that the original Mario or?
Yeah, that'd be Mario Brothers.
It wasn't. I guess it's the original for us, right? But I don't think it was the original.
I played
original.
the original on
Right,
like,
right. It's
Game
the
Boy.
original Mario Brothers, but what I'm saying is I think in like
It
America,
was-
the original
sure,
cartridge
sure.
was the split, but I think Mario at one point its life did come like
Right.
separate.
See, I'm too
You talking cartridge wise? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm too young for this.
I'm honestly right there with Nate. Not to cut you off, but
No,
like just
go ahead.
it's roughly the same thing. My uncle was clearing out his attic and got all of his like old Nintendo stuff out with my cousins.
Yeah.
And he gave us this giant bag of Nintendo games, and my mom was like, I don't know, like I don't want him getting addicted to video games.
It'll rot your
different things.
brain.
Like, yeah, basically. And she loves telling the story, but he was like, Sally, look, that's my mom's name, Sally.
I don't know. The context clues.
Yeah,
they're,
right.
they're a thing.
I just don't ever know. So he was like, he's gonna get tired of it in like a week. He's gonna play it for a week. He's gonna get tired of it, and that's it.
Famous last words.
And I played it. So here's the thing: is I didn't play it. We got home. We had the old stuff, and that was like back with like the RCA cable. So it was like red, white, yellow. You're trying to plug all that stuff in.
Yeah.
I said my dad plugged it in, but like he actually like screwed it in because it was the little
Dude,
needle.
you guys are fucking
Yeah,
old.
you put it in like the antenna and
insane,
stuff.
man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And these were fairly old, and they were in attics. They were all dusty and everything. You have to do the whole like blowing on them and all that garbage. And I was crestfallen as a young child. And bless my dad, he stayed up. It had to, like, I'm thinking this is like super late at night. It was probably maybe it's like 10 o'clock. My bedtime was like 7:30 back then.
Yeah, dude, that's huge.
But he comes up the stairs, and I'm asleep or close to it or whatever. And he kind of shakes me awake. He's like, I got it. And I'm like, what? And he's
That's
like,
brilliant.
it works. And he let me come down the stairs, and we played Super Mario Brothers for maybe like a half hour or something, just to show me. He's like, no, go to bed. It'll be here in the morning. And then that was that Saturday where we got it. Oh my gosh, it was amazing.
Were you in immediately? Like,
yeah, and we'll talk about this more because I want to hear what your first thing was. Like, I was in the way that I idolized my cousins at the time, right? Like this is the first
Yes.
like video game or really any like type of electronic that I had, which I was super into. Short of like if you're being technical, I guess technically Wheel of Fortune for MS-DOS was my quote unquote first video game, you can count that. But this was my first like true like gaming, like video game, like type of thing. But
So
I
real
could say I was in. Yeah.
So, speaking of the Nintendo coming out of a random place, I did not know that the original NES had a dust cover for like the cartridge chamber until I was like much older.
Was yours like just snapped off?
Yeah,
Just
my
gone.
dad didn't have it; it wasn't there.
there was
So
no dust cover.
Yeah,
See,
had
I
no
don't
idea.
know. I never even touched the NES.
You
so
did.
I mean,
and I know specifically you
at
did,
your house.
because one of the worst memories I have of my childhood. We were, how like whenever Thanksgiving and stuff would happen.
Yes,
So
yes.
real quick for context, Perez and I are related. My mom and his mom are twins.
Yes. True.
So my room was like I was the second oldest cousin, and my room was like the room that everybody would go to like hang out.
It was the promised land.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's where all like the video games,
Absolutely,
and the toys and stuff were.
You just waited all year to get to Nate's room. That's what it was. Actually, me and Evan, we were like, "Who's my brother?" Nate was always the cool cousin who had all the fancy stuff, and you would wait all year. Like, dude, we're going to Nate's today, dude. Like, it was like Christmas morning. It was amazing.
But we were all sitting on my bed, and I remember distinctly we were taking turns playing Super Mario 3 because it was the 2-player one.
Oh,
and
God, I do not remember this.
you were super young.
I must have been very young.
But Ashley got up off my bed and sprinted towards like Kelsey or something whenever the O'Rourke showed up.
Okay.
And sprinted through the cords and took the Nintendo out and it broke in half. Like the motherboard and stuff fell out. I was so upset.
No. I do not remember that.
So
thank God it wasn't me.
I think it was me and Evan playing at that point in time.
Probably.
But like you were in the room watching us for sure. And Ashley just
and this is something I wanted to get into, but I'll start with the original premise. My first game that I remember, I mean, I do not remember that memory at all. How crazy is that, by the way?
I'm feeling very old right now, but that's all right.
Oh yeah,
It's
you guys are
not-
boomers.
Sure.
Like it's insane. You're talking about screwing things in the back of the TV. I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? Like,
Well, so
it doesn't just
that's
start.
not even like
What do you-
screwing it. Like if you're talking like which technically
well,
Pong was
he was
after,
he was
like-
saying Nate was saying about.
Well, you're talking like the antenna, like the coax cable almost, right?
yeah, so the same thing like
Yeah.
you screw into your router
the red,
now.
white, and
Right. So what I'm
So-
saying is before that,
What was
Back
it?
in the
Red, white,
day-
and yellow.
No, back in the day, cable was one black wire with a needle and
it's coax cable,
a
yeah.
screw.
You guys are ancient.
And you would stick
Wow.
the needle in the hole in the back of the TV and you would screw it on.
This is enlightening.
Which technically it hasn't come that far. Like you still do that for cable.
Yeah,
It's just going
into a box now.
different
Yeah,
box.
right.
Maybe I
directly
never
into
just
TV.
had to do anything like that. Anyways, what was I talking about? First gaming experience. So yeah, obviously I had things like that. I remember like I don't know where this fits on the timeline, but there was like this game I played at my babysitter's house that was like a golf game. And by play I mean like my older brother would play it and I would watch him. But my first gaming experience had to be on the PlayStation 1. A little bit of context.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I'm young. My parents worked in Japan back in late 80s, early 90s ish. I would say early 90s probably. And so they brought a lot of that back to the States with them, you know, and I was born. So I had a whole collection of Pokemon cards in Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I actually have a what's it called? What is it? Holographic Charizard in Japanese. Somewhere in my room.
You should probably find that.
Yeah,
That
that's
thing-
probably
that
worth
thing's
a lot
good. Something.
with that
Worth
craze
something,
going
yeah.
on.
Knowing how those Pokemon cards were kept when you were little, though, it's probably fucked.
No, I mean it's in a
It's probably
case?
fucked.
no, it's in a case. It was super nice. But anyways, they brought back a PlayStation 1 because you know that was very Sony Japanese, right? So that was a very Japanese thing at the time. It was a big thing back then. Is when I don't know when the PS1 came out, but it had to be around that time, right?
I
Early
was
90s.
older. Like we were in. I was probably maybe hitting middle school
Do you know when the
at that.
PlayStation
I'll
1 came
look
out?
it up while you
Okay.
continue. I'll
Anyways,
figure it
so they got a PlayStation 1, they brought it back, and they had a handful of games that they brought back, like Japanese culture kind of things. And so my first memory of actually like playing a game, controller in my hand, was Spyro the Dragon. It was Spyro 1. That was
out. 1995.
95? Yeah,
2001 was my guess.
2001?
Yeah, the
No
reason I
way.
was guessing that late though is because Pokemon, like the cartridge Red and Blue, came out in '97 or '98.
Final Fantasy VII came out in 97 for the PlayStation 1.
That's
Yeah.
fine. I was just thinking like we were still using.
Oh,
like,
I
you
see.
know,
I
the
see what you're
Game
saying.
Boy
Yeah,
Color
okay, that makes
cartridges
sense.
at
That makes
time.
sense. So Spyro the Dragon was like the first experience I had. I have a vivid memory of my dad playing with me, which is crazy. Like, you know my dad. It's crazy. Like, he would play a video game with me, right? So he was playing with me before he went to work. We were playing Spyro 1. That's the first kind of thing that I have. But what I wanted to say earlier, I know that we've had this discussion before,
Mhm.
where you're like, oh man, I can't believe like you watched a Let's Play of something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I always have to remember too that like I was the oldest in my
Exactly.
family.
That's the
So
point I was going to make.
I wasn't the person getting stuck.
Yes. So I have an older brother, and he would dominate the console. He would be playing everything, and I was totally fine with just watching it. And I guess, I was at that age where I was young enough, but I just loved watching him. helping him out when he was stuck. Like, oh, remember this guy said that, and all of that stuff. That's why I think that has a big part to play in why I can just sit down and watch a Let's Play on YouTube and be totally fine. You know what I mean? Because all the exclusives that's been coming out, like especially in like Sony, like God of War.
Which is apparently coming to PC based on a rumor.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't think that one would.
Yeah, apparently it's the next one after this Days Gone release just came out.
Yeah.
I still have to play Horizon. I heard that was good.
I don't
Tyler,
like that,
I think
but
you
that's
like
up
that.
your alley, yeah.
I know that Nate, you did not
Yeah.
like that.
Mm-mm.
I definitely will try that. The Final Fantasy remake I watched. I really loved Persona 5.
Mm-hmm. I'm super excited. And
Yeah.
I hope that comes out.
It will.
It will, but
Persona 4 did so well on Steam that it has to, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
But Atlas seems to be one that likes to perfect their craft.
They're greedy.
So Persona 6 will be done
Before Persona 5
comes out.
Maybe.
So let me ask you this then. So you mentioned with your brother, right?
Yeah.
I mentioned how I idolized my cousins.
Sure.
Nate, did you have anybody that was
I had-
saying like try this game or check this out, or you
Yes.
just
So it didn't come up until like later, like in the PS2 era, but we had one older cousin whose name was Garrett.
Garrett. Oh, yeah.
And
Super,
Garrett-
Super Mario 3, right? That was the one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Garrett and his wife actually are both really big into games. And Garrett has like 4 kids now, so he's kind of boring. But
sorry,
in-
Garrett.
in Garrett's bedroom growing up, in their like first like bedroom together, like in their house, they had like wire shelving around the top of the entire bedroom. And Garrett and Courtney had one of every console and their favorite game case beside it. So it'd be like NES and then like Super Mario Brothers 3, and then if Courtney's was like Super Mario Kart or whatever, like those two were side by side, and then you move over to the SNES and it was their 2 games, then the Xbox.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
So I mean, that kind of idolization shaped me for a while, right? Like, so whenever like PlayStation 1 came out with like N64, and it was like picking one or the other, right?
Right.
Yeah, I know you don't.
Where I started, by the way.
Yeah, I know. So that's the sad thing, is that was actually the first console I bought. Well, if you don't count like a Game Boy Color, I did buy a Game Boy Color. with
How old
Pokemon.
were you when?
So I was born in '88. If PlayStation came out in '95, I probably got mine in like '96, '97. I'd probably say. It was.
You
a
said
couple
you
years
bought it?
into
Like,
I did
you
buy
bought
it
it
like
yourself?
my own money. Yeah. So that's
insane.
like saving up like
That's
birthday,
crazy.
Christmas money, all that stuff.
Wow.
For what it is, it's not like I went and got a job and
No.
paid for it,
I'm
but
just saying. That's.
I
impressive.
definitely saved for it. Yeah.
I respect the grind.
But that was the thing, is like, whatever my cousins got or told me was
Yeah.
cool.
Yep.
I followed in their footsteps, which
Yep.
is why, like the first thing I got was a PlayStation 1. And then I got Tekken 3 because it took me that many years. Like they cranked out Tekkens,
Yeah.
but they had originally got Tekken 1. So that was just like, oh, that's a cool game. I have to be like them. I'll play that.
Right.
And they, really shaped kind of what I would play at an early age, because they were my kind of guidelines on like cool, right? Like
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
if they're listening to Three Doors Down, that was the coolest song I knew at the time.
But that's how you learn, right? I mean, you just kind of idolize something, you imitate. You know what I mean? That's how you learn how to talk. That's how you
Sure,
So
but that
makes
leads
a
me-
lot of sense to me. Where it's like,
So real quick too, Tekken 3 is actually on my list. So your Tekken 3 was because that was like the thing you played with your older cousins. My first like experience with that was like Budokai on the PlayStation 2. It was the first time I beat Garrett. And he knocked a filling loose in my mouth because he threw a controller at my face.
oh my god, I did not know about that one.
Yeah.
That's insane. Wow.
Long story short, one time at Universal as a kid, I was running next to this fountain with a big sign that said "Don't run." I fell, chipped my tooth, got the filling in, beat Garrett as Krillin in Budokai 2, and he threw the controller at my face. and
Krillin's
knocked the
his
front tooth.
favorite character, by the
Yeah.
way, just for
Gotcha.
context.
Gotcha.
That feels
he
bad.
Threw the controller at my face and knocked out the front tooth
Yeah.
filling.
Oh my god.
That was
That's
a
insane.
Thanksgiving trip.
If you know
But,
Garrett, that's shocking. He's
Yeah,
like the
well-
got guy you ever meet. That's insane.
But so that happened. But like my first experience with like the older cousin thing is Halo 2. With Tekken,
Okay.
that was actually the first game I ever played with my grandfather, and he whooped the fuck out of me. Like it was bad.
The one that worked at Disney, or
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
My dad
Yeah.
would always do like the just crouch and do like quick jabs and
Oh,
like
no.
win
He
that
picked
way.
it
Like,
up. I
he's-
don't know what it was. If he
yeah.
was just button mashing or what, but he was talking trash and telling me how bad I
true
sucked.
fighting game
And, like,
connoisseur.
I don't know if you remember Anna Williams, who like if she wins, she just shakes her tits or ass or whatever. And my dad would
Is it
only
Tekken?
play in Tekken.
Okay,
yeah, and
okay.
he would only play as her.
I
'Cause then every time he
only
won, he
remember
would just laugh
a
and
handful
not
of characters.
skip
Like,
the
is there
cutscene.
like a Bob in Tekken?
Now there is, yeah, old man. Like he's
Isn't
like
he
Tekken
like
5
the?
or
Isn't he
something.
like the cover guy or no? Who am I thinking of?
To be fair, he was on the cover, I think, of Tekken 5.
Okay,
So that's
again, I am super young.
maybe 6.
I don't.
know. Yeah.
Tekken 3, I have no idea, dude. Like,
Tekken 3, I think, is
I know
the
that
best
there's
one.
like a Bobcat guy. Is he newer?
King?
or-
Bobcat
King's old.
King,
guy?
yeah.
Oh
King
my
is
god, he's a
old.
jaguar. You
Yeah.
What Bobcat Jaguar? That's gonna be the same
that's
family.
very
Oh, that's a
different.
very different thing.
No way.
Yeah.
I apologize
Tell me
to all the Tekken fans.
3 differences between a Bobcat and a Jaguar right
The
now.
size. Bobcats are
Thank
like
you, Nick.
Wait, Nate watches the Nature Channel.
I-
What the
I-
fuck?
no,
anything.
believe it or not. So I don't know if you remember this, but our most recent cabin trip to,
You saw a Bobcat.
I think it was the one in West Virginia, wherever you and Mike went on that hike, and I went
Take your
paddleboarding
word
with the
for it,
girls. But we heard a really crazy sound like the first night we were there. And Abby and I Googled it and found out that it was a bobcat. And then we Googled bobcats are like smaller than coyotes. And they're not vicious unless they're in heat or they're like rabid.
Wow.
And they make the strangest sound. They don't sound like a cat. It sounds like a door creaking. Like it's really weird.
I'm glad I did not know this. I would not have slept.
You do learn something new every day. I was playing baseball
I had
last
my
week.
big friend with me. We would have been okay.
No,
Oh yeah, I mean obviously. I was playing baseball like last week and I heard a crazy sound from the forest. I wonder if it was a bobcat, man. It was an insane. It sounded like a banshee. It was 2 animals fighting for sure. Absolutely. But dude, I don't know.
See,
It was like
whenever you
11
hear
o'clock
that,
at night.
you just back off. You're like, okay, it's
Well, I was in the outfield, so I was
That's a
close to it.
bobcat.
It looks like a cat.
I know. They're not very big.
Like-
Like a house cat.
Yeah.
To
Like a
clarify,
man- like a
because
Mancoon.
I understand that they're all cats.
yes.
I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, part of
that
the feline.
I'm not that stupid.
So I'm going to turn this up real quick.
Here's a bold take.
We're
here.
going to see if this is actually the
I'm
sound
sure
or
this will
not.
come through fine.
Okay.
Well, hang on.
I'm gonna make a bold take
Yeah,
here real quick.
Let's hear that take.
The cat family is better than the dog family.
Yeah.
Now I'm a dog person. Don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
Like if I'm gonna pick a domesticated animal, it's gonna be a dog. Absolutely.
Mhm.
But dude, once you get up the pyramid on the
Dogs
family,
are done. I mean, you have I
dogs
guess
are done. Like, what do you
wolves,
have, like,
sure,
a painted,
your wolf, your coyote,
a wolf.
You know,
you have a painted something in Africa.
sure.
You know what I'm talking
you know
about?
what beats that? A lion,
That's what I'm saying. Well, actually, lions are pretty bad.
jaguar,
I think
cheetah.
I think a panther
yeah.
is up there. I think a panther might be S tier. There's a
Where did
there's a
it really start
YouTube channel.
from?
There's a
didn't
YouTube channel
King
that
have a nemesis named Panther, or am I just making that up? It was
Armor
like a
King.
reskin of him.
Yeah, Armor King.
Yeah.
what are we talking
Sorry.
about?
There's King and Armor King in Tekken.
Oh,
it's a whole
King,
thing,
King's
yeah.
great. I remember
But-
King.
All right.
All right,
so
let's hear this weird sound.
Bob.
And we'll, okay.
I think
Hey.
that's a bird.
I
But
think
like
that's a- I
here,
think that's a
That
raptor.
sounds.
hang
It's
on.
a
Is this
crow.
Jurassic Park or
This is a bobcat.
that's a bobcat?
Yeah.
I
It sounds like a
I
dude.
feel like Nate's trolling us right
He
now.
might be, he might
I
be.
think that's
100%
It sounds like a dude
not.
just yelling,
That
right?
is a bobcat.
Yeah,
all right.
And that's what we heard outside the cabin
take-
when we were
sure.
in
that's
West Virginia.
impressive.
That's just the West Virginians trolling.
The West Virginians are an interesting region.
They're
I
wild.
always got-
They're wild and wonderful.
That is their state motto. Ours is in Pennsylvania, pursue your happiness,
Which is insane.
which is what we're doing.
We are.
We are doing that. We were
Video
fine.
games.
We were trying. Hey, we're doing a podcast.
So
We're trying
let
to find
me
it.
let me throw this guy.
Okay,
out to
we
you.
coming
We'll
back.
do a curveball.
Coming back
Yeah,
to
bring
it. Okay,
bringing it
good,
back.
good. We need someone to get us
What
back. Yeah.
What is your first game that you essentially discovered on your own, like not influenced at all, and this is just something that you found, that you played, that you loved, just you, not
Can you
influenced by anyone?
define discovered on your own? Does it mean you had to pay for it yourself, or
I don't think that. So, for instance, my first memory of a game that I just found and was like, I'll try this out, and it was Armored Core on PlayStation.
Okay.
Again, this is kind of PlayStation was my first personal console that I paid with my own money, and I bought all the games for.
Right.
But Armored Core was the first one that no one told me anything about it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this looks neat. It was like $10 at Kmart or something. It was the only thing I could afford at the time.
Inflation.
And I got that, and I thought it was awesome. But that was like the first thing I could think of.
I'm not familiar with that game.
Oh, I don't want to get... so Armored Core is basically you are a mech for hire.
Police mech for
hire. Or you could be on the Renegades or whatever.
It's a mech.
You're mercenary, so you can just pick your missions based off of the highest bidder, and there's like faction wars of like corporations that want you and different things like that.
That sounds sweet.
And you buy parts for your mech, and you can pick. Do you want to be like this heavily armored like tank guy? Like you pick your treads, your like if you want to be like a quad legged thing and stuff, which you could be like crazy firepower. But you have to pay for everything. So you have to pay for your ammo. You have to pay for, it's like the Tarkov of armored mechs.
Tarkov, honestly, probably would be my game. Like the one that I found that wasn't actually it was influenced by you, so never mind.
I did tell you to play Tarkov. I told you love this game.
It's a tough question.
I want to put this on the record. I told Nate he would love Tarkov, and he told me it was stupid as fuck. You know what I'm saying? This looks stupid. And now, who's playing Tarkov
Just
all
me.
the time? Exactly. I told him he'd love it. It's right up his alley.
But uninfluenced, and you might remember this. Do you remember that tank game? It was anime based. You built your tank from the ground up.
No.
You could get angel wings and shit and fly around.
I'm young, man. I don't.
It was Bomberman. We played it on the PlayStation 2, so you were old enough, and I know we played it together.
I remember Champions of Norath. That's the one that really stuck with me.
That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun, and that's why I think not to just derail it, but that's what I'm great at. I think I love Diablo because that's the same shit, right? That's top down.
Have you actually played through Diablo yet?
No.
We need to do that.
With you guys was the first. I fucking bought it full price, by the way, because it's Tyler's favorite game, and we played for a couple hours. It was fun. I think we just need to do
Tyler and I both felt that you did not enjoy it.
I did enjoy it. It was late.
I did not think you enjoyed it.
I was tired. It was late, and it's tough. I mean, Tyler, you know this better than anyone, where it's like, hey, play this game, and I'm just going to throw all this shit at you, because I love this game, and I know everything about it. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah. I mean, opening yourself up to that, though, is if you just let it happen.
Yes. I'm down. I'm down to play it. I'm down to finish it, even if I don't like it. I want to experience it, and maybe some context on this. I've been floating around this but this idea where we suggest something to the other person, right? So the first thing that we're doing is Tyler's playing through Final Fantasy VII, the original one, with me and another buddy who really liked that game. And it's an experience. Yeah. I mean, it's a really 20 plus years old game.
15 hours in.
Yeah.
Technically 18. Yeah, we put 18 hours into that thing so far.
And he knows better than anyone. We're just throwing all this shit at him because we know all of the context, and it's a very interesting experience / playthrough. I can't wait till I think we'll do an episode on that once you get it done.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We'll do I don't want to call it a spoiler cast because it's from 97, but you know what I mean?
Right.
But that's the thing is we're playing through Diablo, and Nate and I already are maxed level, beat
Not
the season
anymore,
and that side of
it.
But
You're so beyond where I'm at.
And that's
I'm
the
at
tough
a base
thing because
level. It's hard for you to remember what your first experience was like with that, where you didn't know anything. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing.
Did you start with 3 or?
I did
Diablo
start with
3 was actually rough. Right. I didn't beat that till 2 years after.
Yeah.
Really?
Believe it or not, it was like Tarkov. They had an auction house that was player driven, and you could use real money to buy shit.
I love that. I love when there's because I was a RuneScape player, so exchange.
You could use cash money, US dollars, to buy swords and shit from people that you wanted.
That's kind of fun.
I didn't know that.
I don't like that. I like there's an economy in the game kind of thing.
It broke Diablo. Broke it. Imagine if you could start
Borderlands
out,
if you can pay
have
with real money.
The gold guns at the beginning.
That's why that's such a bad idea. You should not be able to pay with real money. I am of the opinion that real money should be cosmetic.
But see, this is the thing is we're playing through the campaign with you on that. Right. We got it fairly far.
Beginning, we beat the first boss.
The Skeleton King or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. But the thing is, we're taking time. and you're just like, okay, let's see, is this the best one for this? And you're going through your inventory and you're doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm biting my tongue because I just want to scream at you like, none of this matters. Like you're gonna find so much better gear in 5 minutes.
Exactly.
But I don't want to. I mean, I'm obviously telling you this now.
Yeah. I didn't know that you were doing.
But
that.
I didn't want to say anything because the main thing when I was playing that game originally that I loved was exactly that. Now, granted, I was playing by myself.
Yeah.
So I had all the time in the world.
Yeah.
I could sit there and agonize over all the little min-maxing of stats and things like that. That's a very fun part of that game.
Yes.
If that's your first time experiencing it, like by all means, man, go for it. That's all. Like I
don't want to. Now you know how I feel. Where you're
the
like,
part that's kind of rough for me is that you were super tired and weren't paying attention to half the game.
I was paying attention,
Well,
but the problem is, here's the thing: we're starting with the third game in the series.
Right. Well, that's what I'm getting to.
Okay.
So in the very first chapter of the game, all of the lore books, they're literally just hanging out on pedestals all around that game world, explain the entire plot line of Diablo 1 and 2.
Well, here's the thing,
including like the Leoric thing and the Skeleton King, like that ghost that little like scene with the ghost knights and whatnot, explains like what happened to Diablo 2 that caused Diablo 3 kind of deal.
I think what you guys should do at that point is just fill me in. Like, hey, here's what's going on.
We'll send you a YouTube video because there are people who do it in like 15 minutes and it's actually
I could do that.
But
I like playing through because that's what we're doing for you in Final Fantasy. We're like, hey,
I think the main difference there, though.
But here's the gist.
I think the main difference, though, is I don't think Diablo 3, and granted, this is me just starting off in Diablo 3, so I don't have any necessary love for the series like I do with like Warcraft or something on that.
Sure, which I would be down to do as well. Warcraft 3,
Warcraft would be pretty good.
Yeah, get the egg timers going.
But for me, it's like I don't care so much about the story, so that never really mattered to me, right? Like it was all about the actual gameplay loop.
Sure.
Where with Final Fantasy,
maybe I'm looking at it from the
exact
wrong
opposite.
angle.
Like Final Fantasy,
sure.
I make the joke of I don't care about materia or spells or anything like, but I really don't. Like I don't care about the character of like, okay, what's the best build for this, or like I appreciate how to do it. But
do you think that some party though likes organizing, trying to find combinations with the materia though, that
yes, except that I think I came at it way too late. I think other games have done
it's
it
way
better.
outdated. Yeah, right, exactly.
I mean, honestly, even Mass Effect not Mass Effect, well, not kind of, but
Mass Effect?
Not really.
There's no
I would even say like Diablo does it better.
Mass Effect 2, that's one of the things I hate about it.
we do not want to go back into Mass Effect. But like I bring up Grandia all the time. I think Grandia does it better.
Sure.
I think a lot of
Grandia
games
came out
do that system better. Yeah,
2005?
Exactly.
2004?
So that's the thing is I played those games before I played Final Fantasy.
Yes. No, absolutely.
So it's like going back
I totally
in time,
at this point, it's the story.
Yeah.
And,
100%.
And replaying it with you. I mean, like, so what we're doing is we're watching him play it, right? Like he's streaming it for us. The story holds up in my opinion, because where we left off last time, it's like you were kind of on board with it.
Yeah.
And we'll save this for another episode, but long story short is, going back to those things. So like Diablo is an old game, so you kind of understand how I feel like playing through it. Like it doesn't look nice. The mechanics are actually pretty decent. I kind of enjoyed it.
Diablo, the reason I like it, don't care about the story. It very much gave me like the old school Champions of Norath vibes, which is the only reason I enjoyed
I guess
it.
we didn't,
I thought
because
you would enjoy it.
Yeah.
Don't remember anything about Champions of Norath.
I do. I remember the ant. Do you not remember the ant cave?
I remember all of the environments.
Yes.
I remember the cloud giant city. I
Yes.
remember the weird like alien, like you're inside a stomach but not inside a stomach.
Don't remember
deal.
that.
Like
crazy.
I remember the
intro,
caves,
the forest.
Yep.
Where you start in the village that's above the tree line.
Yeah. I remember all of the environments.
I do not remember who the bad guy is.
I don't remember that. I don't remember who the characters were even. I remember they were classes.
I think I played the barbarian guy.
Yeah. I don't
That
remember
has
what
not
any
changed.
of them looked like or anything. Apparently Champions of Norath is based off like not D&D but Pathfinder or something, I think.
3.5?
Which I didn't even realize was
that makes
a thing.
sense.
Yeah.
That people love, not to get off track, but we're already way off track. People love Pathfinder.
Mm-hmm.
They think
One
it's
thing
the
I'm
best
debating on
version.
buying is they just they just released the original Dark Alliance, the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, the hack and slash, like the Champions of Norath, but the D&D edition with like the D&D
It's a video
characters.
game?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's old. I think it's delayed on Steam, but it's coming to Steam. It's coming to Switch.
Who made that one?
I don't remember.
You
It
don't?
was old.
Okay.
It was on the
Sure.
PlayStation 2, and it was a hack and slash.
Okay.
And if you remember too, the PlayStation 2 era was actually kind of short-lived for me because that's when Uncle Sam taught me how to build computers.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was that.
PlayStation 2
Actually,
was
that would make. I guess that would make sense.
If we're gonna get back on track here, the question that you posed was what was first
What was your
independent game?
First independent game. Yeah.
I actually have a specific memory of this one. So I was in Toys R Us. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in the game section, and games cost like what, $20 or whatever. And so me and my brother got to pick one game, and I'm looking around, and we were on the PlayStation 2 at this point, and I see this game of this. So it's the cover. It has the little greatest hits thing at the top.
Yeah, green strip, sure.
Red strip.
Yeah.
Oh, for PlayStation.
Yeah. Fuck. I'm
Yep,
so old.
sure. Yep.
Yep. So it's a red strip, greatest hits. And it was the like background of Paris, France, and this raccoon sitting on a fucking satellite or something.
Sure.
Sly Cooper won. That I just thought it looked cool, which is what. Oh no,
That's
yeah, I
great.
was talking to Kyle.
Mhm.
Kyle, same story with Final Fantasy VII. He's like, oh man, this guy looks cool, big sword. And I'll get
You
this.
just pick it up and
yeah,
and do
right.
it, yeah.
Sly Cooper was a Best Buy rental, or not Best Buy, Blockbuster video rental for me.
Blockbuster. Oh man, I remember those. But yeah, I picked up Sly Cooper. Definitely one of my favorite games of all time, like favorite series for sure.
Yeah.
But that's definitely the first one. Like I independently saw it, picked it myself. Nobody told me about it. What a pick!
Yeah.
By the way, I
Absolutely.
miss those times where you just randomly
Right.
get something and you're like, wow, this is amazing.
Nate, did you tell us what yours was?
Yeah, I'm gonna look up the name. So if you want to go, because
I mean, Armored Core was mine.
Did you play Sly Cooper? Or
I never played-
You
no.
missed out on some of the PlayStation 2 stuff.
I had PlayStation 2, but I was playing. I was still in the Tekken thing just because I felt like
Was that PS2?
it was
Tekken?
Tekken Tag.
Okay.
Was PS2.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think Tekken 4, maybe 5. I definitely 4
Okay.
was. And then obviously
But,
like
yeah,
I was
you
going
missed
into
a
like
lot of the,
SOCOM and stuff like that.
SOCOM I did play. Those were great. You missed a lot of like the big
Okay.
ones.
it was called Seek and Destroy for the PlayStation 2,
Okay.
and it's this little tank game, and this was the cover. Okay,
Is this the anime tank game?
Oh, this
is
is
what
you're talking about.
Oh,
Yeah.
So-
okay, gotcha.
here's
I do not remember it, by the
you,
way.
you got to build, like, you went through and your character was always your tank. So like you talked as like you were in your tank or whatever, and like you could build like different things. So I literally made my tank like Bomberman. It had like giant angel wings, and like it would fly above the map, and I would literally drop bombs on people, and that's
That's
how I
amazing.
would win like the fights. But like there was a multiplayer, and I know we played it, but you were probably too young to remember.
I do not remember it.
Yeah,
no.
because the only people I ever played it with were my sisters, who didn't really want to play it with me,
No.
and then you and Evan.
Right.
And I always loved playing against you guys because, you know, I had the PS2 and you guys had the GameCube, so like I was able to play these games.
We
like,
did not have the GameCube until way later.
I know, that's what I'm saying, but like,
Did you guys like have like a specific genre you liked as a kid, or do we just not know what genres?
I
were
was
back then?
always into adventure, so I started with Spyro.
Mhm.
I was a very
like 3D
imaginative,
platformer type thing, or
not even necessarily like yes, but I was a very imaginative kid, right? Like, and I still am, where you have this like creative world.
Mhm.
It's unique. And Spyro definitely hit that for me, where you have all these different levels and they're all unique and there's a theme to them.
Yeah.
There's like specific enemies and stuff, and that always got my mind going. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I'd run around the house pretending I was in all these environments and stuff. I always loved that. So I would say like adventure. For
and
me.
that really hasn't changed, right? Like, I mean, I know you branch out and like you'll try new things, but I mean, would you say that like the games that you would play, and maybe we say like solo, because it's tough to
Yeah.
compare stuff nowadays just because it's
Yeah,
obviously
I mean,
like
I'm jaded
multiplayer and
now,
stuff.
right?
Yeah,
like I play
you have
League of
everything.
Legends.
Like, you just,
Like,
if you
that's,
ever want to try anything, you just drop the
oh,
money, you buy it. and
God,
that's it.
but yeah, I would say yeah. I mean, talking about like the games I would play solo now, I mean,
you just did Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk, right?
So-
It's all about immersion for me. So maybe that has changed because back in the day it was all about imagination,
Mhm.
but Cyberpunk isn't really that, right? It's kind of immersion. It's
it
like
gives
what
you
if
all the
you were
information.
in 2077 and you could mod yourself out and you were this kind of like badass hitman kind of guy, getting hired to do whatever. So maybe it has morphed a little bit, but you can
Yeah.
still use your imagination with that. Like, I imagine what I would do in that scenario, right? So
That's something interesting, and I don't know what your next topic is or how long we've been speaking, but speaking of immersion, right? You guys, your version of immersion is getting lost in the world and specifically the story, right?
Mhm.
Gameplay doesn't matter too much to you, so you guys are the people who will run through it on the easiest mode so that you can play the game, not have like a challenge or whatever, and just kind of run through.
that's kind of a new thing for me. As I've gotten older, I put it on easy just because I don't.
2019 was the first year where I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm actually going to do this through
I would say
like an easy mode.
Yeah, I
and
would
just,
say like maybe
enjoy the
last
story.
year, this year, 2020 or 2021.
I forget what
Put
podcast
on
it was,
easy.
but I was listening to it, and they were making the case for like, look, if you're playing something and you don't like, let's say you're not enjoying it, or you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I love the story, but I'm not
Right.
like the
Put it on
combat's
easy.
not, like
Yeah.
just
I will
it's not.
never play a game on easy again.
See,
And
the thing
that's-
is
and
for
that's
me
fine, though.
is I'm an adult now and I have like a big boy job where it's
Mhm.
like I don't have the time to play it on hard and bash my head against the wall to try to beat this
See,
boss.
I not so Tyranny was like one of my favorite games.
Mhm.
That's one I have to play.
But Pillars of Eternity was the original one. Like that was their like big CRPG, Obsidian CRPG before Tyranny, which Tyranny I'm in once again the minority of people who like that game.
People didn't think it was good.
No, I loved it.
Really?
I thought it was great, but
Well,
people
I've
did
only
not
ever
like
heard
it.
you talk about it, so I
Yeah.
thought it was amazing.
I loved it. It's I think you would enjoy it if you want a game with immersion. That is one of
Well, that's why I like this idea that we have, where I will play Tyranny.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Tyranny's great.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I think they left it on a cliffhanger, and I think that jades a lot of people.
They never picked it up. After
Yeah,
that.
because
I-
it didn't go as well as Pillars of
Right.
Eternity did, and I would
Right.
argue that I disliked Pillars of Eternity compared to this game. But Pillars of Eternity, if you played it on easy or story mode, there are actual fights, like boss fights and stuff, that just don't exist in the game anymore.
that I don't like.
Yeah.
So
So
miss that. Yeah.
So I found that out after playing it on story because
Mhm.
I wanted to get through it before Pillars of Eternity 2 came out because I liked the concept of it,
Right.
but I did not like Pillars of Eternity enough to want to play through it. So they added a story mode where like you can breeze through all the fights and just
Right.
follow the story.
Yeah.
But like there was a point where like just certain things were missing. They cut them. And it
that's
expedites you
specific
getting
to
through
that
like, the
game, though,
story,
but-
but
Right. I don't like
but I
that design idea.
didn't notice it until I played it. Like,
Yeah, you wouldn't
because I
know,
played it
right?
on a different
Yeah.
difficulty.
Right.
So if I start all games on easy, I don't know what I'm missing out or what I could be.
Actually, I
thinking
think
of.
That's
that's
fair.
unique. I don't know another example that does that. Do you?
But you may
Oh,
not have come
no.
across a reason
Maybe.
to find that out.
maybe.
So,
Sure.
like for instance,
But then
what are
to-
you guys
to that
playing
point,
Mass
though-
Effect on? Like Mass Effect 1, what did you guys
Play-
start
played
on?
it on normal.
Yeah, I'm not
Normal.
gonna change it.
Yeah.
But,
So-
but we also have history with that, where we played. Like I have it.
No.
I've played it on insane. or
See, I
whatever
looked
the
it
higher
up,
end
and
yes.
I actually went and found that the difficulty above it, whatever the one is above normal, like veteran or whatever,
Mhm.
is you have as much of a chance of dying in most fights as
The
they
enemy.
do as you
Yeah.
killing the enemy. Like the time to kill is the same.
Right.
Whenever it comes to like immersion, like yes, I want to be immersed in the world, and Mass Effect does a really good job of making you care about like I know all the differences between all the races, and I care about like their
Yeah.
culture and stuff,
Yeah.
right? So that's part of it. The other part is I don't want to sit there and shoot a bunch of bullet sponges because that's not fun to me, and I don't want to sit there and be a bullet sponge because then there's no risk reward involved. So
Interesting.
I
Yeah.
have to play it on
So,
a higher difficulty. in
Mass
order to
Effect
get
for
that.
me. Sorry to cut you off, but
No.
it's actually not immersive like Cyberpunk is, and I think we talk about like I've talked about the first versus third person aspect of that. Where I'm in first person in Cyberpunk, I feel like I'm there.
Sure.
You know, with Mass Effect, it feels like yes, I make myself because I actually do like a custom Shepard. and all that jazz, but it feels like just like a story if I would insert myself into it. Does that make sense? Where it's not like I'm there, I feel like I'm there. It feels like I'm watching.
Do you only feel like you're there and like you're immersed in games like Fallout and stuff because you're in first
I think
person?
so. I think that's a huge thing where it's like, I know you don't like it because you can't see how awesome you look and stuff like that, but you can't see how awesome you look in real life, like unless you're looking in a mirror, right?
I would agree with you, but I would only agree with you up until the point where the main character wasn't voice acted.
Yes, that is a good point. I do the Cyberpunk one at least, which is the most recent example. I do like his voice acting.
His voice acting is good.
So
I sound nasally as shit. It doesn't sound like me.
yeah, so
I'm
I mean,
not
there's
immersed.
obviously some fantasy to it where like, man, I wish I sounded badass, but
I think my definition of immersion is a little bit more fluid than that.
Okay.
Which I agree with you, right? Like I can understand how first person is immersive and that puts you right in the thick of it. For me, it's like if it's Nate's point of like understanding all the different races of Mass Effect, for instance, or for
Sure.
I know we were talking about the game Pyre for a while, where it's like
Which
you're
is
reading
another
these
one on my
stories.
list.
That
Yeah.
is such a
Yes.
great.
You'll love it. I gave it a
Great.
shot. I did not
you-
get into it, but you'll love it.
I thought you, Nate, originally told me about the premise of it, and I was like on board because is it like the sports one?
It's a
Yeah.
sports one
Yeah.
where you're getting out of
I would
purgatory,
totally, yeah,
basically.
absolutely be down. That sounds like right up my alley.
But for me, I consider those immersive just because I'm so invested in the world and I'm so invested in
Okay.
the characters in the
I-
story that I'm immersed in that universe.
right.
Again, I know I talked about how like Mass Effect made me like legitimately depressed when it was ended because it pulled me out of that universe.
Yes,
Not
yes.
the ending or anything, but just because I was unimmersed or whatever.
it was the ending.
Yeah, like I
for
was
me.
unplugged from that
Yes,
that
yes.
story. So like to me, that's what clicks for immersion. Like you mentioned God of War and Horizon, things like that. Like things like that with sure heavy story, but like the gameplay is all part of it. Where it's just like everything is just firing on all cylinders. Hades, I considered immersed because I was so into that world, into that story. I would think about it when I wasn't playing it. That's what I define as immersion, which is
Okay.
I know different.
Yes,
but
I think maybe we disagree on our definitions because I like Mass Effect 2 is my favorite game of all time, right? So I guess I wouldn't say I'm like completely immersed. I know, dude. Holy shit.
It's hurting me so bad.
I can't like. What is it about that? Is
nope,
the best.
that's
one.
not the question. We're not asking that question.
We're not
right
gonna
now.
open that can of worms.
That'll be later.
That's my favorite game of all time. I'm not. I guess like by your definition, I'm absolutely immersed. I love the world. It's my favorite like sci-fi universe by far. It's better than Star Wars for me. Like I know all the races, the backstory. We were talking about this earlier where I will sit down and read the codex.
Sure.
I will read. Oh, this planet. Its lunar cycle is like double Earths or something. Like I'll read that shit. Like it's so useless. I think it's so cool, and all the races, all that stuff.
But you don't count that as immersion then.
I guess by your definition, definitely is immersive. But like I don't put myself in the game.
And yeah, I mean, hey, like
Because-
I don't think there's a
because,
right or wrong answer with that.
Like I play like a straight Paragon dude,
Mhm.
and I'm like, this wouldn't be me. This guy's fucking amazing. Like he's way better than me. You know what I mean? Like the patience he has, the wisdom. It's like,
but you're still making those choices. I mean, I guess at the end of the day,
Am I
you're
really,
just-
though?
Yeah, you're just.
Am I
picking
really making the
best
choices?
choice
I
you
mean,
think you can do.
and that's why I like, and we'll get into this later, like I said. But Nate's doing a run of it where he kind of has a backstory and stuff, which I think is cool.
for Mass Effect 2.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because like my Paragon and my Renegade are split 50-50.
And it fucks you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're
That's
missing
why he
out on
doesn't.
stuff.
Okay.
Sure.
We'll get into it later, but yes.
That'll be a.
I'm going to keep doing it. I'm literally not
podcast,
even
sure.
changing my
I like
class
it.
or anything. Like my dude
I'm
is
curious
saying-
where you end up.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. I like that run, but
I don't know. I mean, we've been going for about 45 minutes. So if you guys get tired or whatever, let me know. We can.
I'm good to go.
I
I
just
mean,
know you like
wanna,
to keep them at about an hour.
the hour.
I mean,
mark
honestly,
sounds good.
between 1 to 3. I mean, I'm saying we're going to do 3 hours, but I'm saying like within that time frame is totally fine.
I'm still good.
Yeah. I mean, so we talked about like our first games and everything, and I guess we alluded to our first platform. So for Nate and I, it's more Nintendo, and then you were PlayStation.
Yes.
John. So I guess the thing that and we mentioned genres when we're talking about video games, like obviously with the internet coming in and how Xbox changed things with like the Xbox Live, and we started,
Right.
I mean, that's kind of how we all not met, but like that's how we keep in touch, right? Like, I mean, COVID happened for a year, and I felt like we were still talking and hanging out on.
I was
Right.
far
online
less
and stuff
depressed
like that.
during that year than my wife was.
Absolutely,
because I could
yeah.
still see my
Abby was
friends every day.
yeah. that
Yeah,
was
well, that's. I
probably a rough
mean,
time.
Chelsea was like, "Yeah, we haven't seen anyone in forever." But I'm like, "Oh yeah, I guess we technically haven't quote unquote seen each other, but like
right.
we talk every day, basically, just
Right.
you know
Yeah.
and stuff."
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was Call of Duty 4 was really like the first kind of like online multiplayer, like big insane
Really?
thing. Yeah.
That's later than I would think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
mine
mean-
was for sure Halo, like OG
Halo 1?
Xbox.
Sure.
Halo 2.
Two.
We did
one
Halo
have-
before, but it wasn't like an online
Halo
thing, and maybe
1,
we go back on that.
I did play multiplayer on, but Halo 1's multiplayer was exclusively PC.
Oh wow, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
it was
Okay.
either local console or
Right.
like a
dedicated
LAN
service?
party.
Oh, just LAN. Okay.
Yeah, there was no
Wow.
Xbox Live for that,
Wow.
but you could play on, I forget what it was called, but Microsoft had it was called like a Microsoft Connected Services or something weird like that. It wasn't
This is
Xbox
old
Live,
school,
but like
man.
you could play. And I remember specifically every single human being in Free For All was wearing jet black armor because you could hide in all of the
Sure.
shadowy corners, and you could not be seen with that rifle.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess if we go back, like, we did the LAN parties, right? We had the 4 Xboxes
Yeah,
and everything,
yeah.
like, hooked up. But yeah, I think it was Call of Duty. I really think it was Call of Duty 4 because that came out. When did Halo 3 come out compared to Call of Duty 4?
I don't know.
You
Halo
know,
3 was a
2008?
disappointment to me.
Is my guess.
Call of Duty came
Look
out
it up.
2000.
Are you asking about Call of Duty 4 or Halo 3?
COD 4 and then Halo 3? So like
I'll
COD,
grab Halo.
COD 4,
Look
I'm
up
fairly
COD.
certain we played.
Halo 3.
We did a lot of Halo 3 with like in college and things like that, but I think that was kind of like COD was really the first game that you would get online and like
What's your guess for
everybody
Halo
was
3?
playing. Halo 3 2007.
Boom.
Yeah.
November.
2007
So
for no, this was COD 4. I thought you were looking up Halo 3.
Yep. It's also November 2007 or September 25th, 2007.
So they came out the
Sorry.
same year.
Wow, that's
Yikes.
crazy! What a big year for
what a
games.
great year.
Yeah,
That was the first year I think I
I thought you were looking up Halo because it was almost the
No.
same date.
the only reason I know that is because that was when I started GameStop.
Yeah, and,
But
and that's how you guys all know each other.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
through
Yeah,
GameStop,
we
right?
went to school together, but we
Wait,
didn't
what?
know each other. Tyler went to the
You
same
went to
high school.
Northgate?
Yeah.
No way.
For high school, yeah.
He literally lived 2 blocks down
Had
the road from
no
me.
idea who Nate was at all. But
Yeah.
Giving out way too much information, but
Sure,
yeah, wow,
yeah.
that's fucking
It's
crazy.
okay.
I
You
did not
want
know
my
that.
life? Have my life.
Yeah,
Take it.
Well,
feel
you're
free.
defended properly for that situation. Wow, I did not know. But you never talked in high school. It was until GameStop. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
And even then, it was
the love-hate relationship.
my boss loved Nate. And
Oh, you
hated
didn't like
me,
Nate
so-
at first?
no, I didn't have any problem
That's
with
shocking.
Nate. It was
Is that your
the-
first impression of Nate? Is that you didn't like him? I'm just kidding.
No, I
Now I'm
didn't have
Garrus.
didn't have a problem with
You're
it.
Garrus?
Yeah, it was a joke.
Well, do you not like him at first? So here's
no,
the
I
thing.
didn't dislike Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, Nate was fine.
I'm
our
thinking
boss,
about Garrus. It was like I
it was
forgot
a
how
joke
much of
from
a
back to the first podcast where he was like, "Name a better person than Garrett."
you can't.
Uh-huh.
You just can't
But
name a better person than Nate.
person.
You do it.
But what's
Okay.
McCall it? So
Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
but what's McCall it? So like
She wasn't good
whenever-
at Tekken 3 though.
whenever Tyler and I first
then.
met, Tyler was, I think you were a key at that point, right?
Yeah. I was,
Yeah.
I was
So
third.
I was a peon. He was a key. Which
You are saying things I don't know.
he
Yeah,
was
so
a
I was-
part-time
I was a-
supervisor.
right.
And
I could open
You-
and
you said
close
key.
the store.
I know what a key is.
I was
That's,
a key holder for all the.
Yes,
all
Yeah,
the
he,
yes,
he
okay.
had a pair of
GameStop
keys,
I don't
so
know what
he
a
could
peon
get in
is
whenever he
either.
wanted to.
Yeah.
And
Just
then
saying for us
a
noobs.
peon is the
Working
guy
stuff.
who lays on the ground and you walk around with your little orcish hammer and they go ow, or you say get back to work and they'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah, if you're playing World of
Is
Warcraft.
this a
or not.
Warcraft 3
We're
reference?
we're all
or-
no, it's not Warcraft 3. Warcraft 3 they worked all the time. They never laid down on the
Well,
job.
when you have your egg timers on, you make sure that
you
you're
gotta stop talking
being.
about those egg timers.
That's my
Yeah,
dude.
that's
That's like the thing I identify
But yeah,
you with.
I was
That's my favorite story of yours.
I
Man,
was
that egg timer's good. I was fucking.
I was an underling
Professional.
or
I mean, you're a game advisor. You're
yeah.
like the
Mhm.
newbie.
But they didn't have that name yet. They were just
oh,
like
fair enough.
When did
Sure.
Zach work there?
Zach came in much later. I think we were both gone, or I was at least gone, and Nate had his own store or something like that. Yeah,
I'm
for sure.
surprised. I thought he would work there if you were working there.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But so our boss, Tyler, was like trying to get a promotion or something, and at one point,
It sounds like Tyler.
Maybe that was it. Maybe we were both game advisors at that point, but I was trying to get that key holder spot.
yeah,
And-
and Wyatt recommended me for it, but then our district manager picked Tyler.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that was just the old. Like I was hired by the
Contentious.
previous manager's the whole thing, and I don't blame Wyatt. Like Nate's a good salesman. He's a good employee.
He's the devil. He will
But,
sell you anything. It's disgusting.
It all worked out. I mean,
Yes,
it was-
I know
it was all good.
it's weird. I mean, you guys all literally all know each other. Kyle,
Yeah.
Mike.
Yep.
I remember
you
when
two.
Kyle used to chain smoke like nobody's business.
Kyle
and
used to smoke.
And
Does he still
drove-
smoke?
whenever he's drunk sometimes.
occasionally.
I do the same thing, but I have to be really hammered and I'll smoke. Yeah.
But yeah, so Kyle used to chain smoke, and he had a red Ford Mustang. That was
License
what he
plate.
drove around.
Never mind. Okay.
Oh, I want to hear it.
Nah,
License-
I don't know.
My professor in college, his last name was Nova. His license plate was Supernova. We
It's pretty good.
fucking
Yeah.
roasted him
I
all
mean,
the
sure,
time.
but right, like if you have a
Dude,
a
this
name
guy's
like
like
that,
40 years old.
Yeah, why
man.
not?
Well, true. Okay.
My so speaking of Kyle, real quick,
I hope he doesn't
Kyle
listen to this.
was
I'd be pissed.
no. So Kyle was your old
Yeah.
professor.
You'd be so pissed.
He won't listen to it.
Maybe.
But,
he likes games.
So Kyle, I don't know if he looked up to or was just really good friends with the store manager at the store where I met Kyle at. His name was Mitch, and I remember Mitch. Mitch was like big into MMA. He kind of reminds me of your cousin Justin, and just was really like it seemed like he was like real athletic, like really kind of like I don't know, like the jock who never kind of got out of his jockism, and then he moved to California to be an actor and was in like a music video as a backup dancer.
Hey,
Nice. Hey.
follow your dreams.
There you go.
That's
Yeah.
that's the moral of that
it
story.
was something that came out of left field. Like he moved to
Right.
California and started working at GameStop in California,
Sure.
so he could
Yeah.
get into acting. And then he was
Interesting.
in some rappers videos of backup dancer. And I think this is the last I've ever heard of him being in like a show. Maybe he made it big. Maybe he still runs a GameStop in California that may or may not be closed now. But
Yeah.
Do you think working at GameStop, not to make this a GameStop thing, but like, do you think working there
To the moon.
like jaded your perception of like games and what's coming out and under like I know for me I would be so involved in like what's the hottest releases, what should I like, what should I not like it definitely warped my sense of like I know I mentioned before like discovery and like what was like that game that you kind of found and stuff like that.
so as you
Brink.
both know, I'm
Like
great
Brink.
with money.
Sure, you're
What's that?
you're
Great
the,
with
you're
money.
the top.
Yes.
Top
Yes.
Yep, so good with money.
Yeah.
And I don't spend frivolously ever.
Nope.
Never have. Never
Nope.
got myself into trouble by spending too much money
I
I
know.
don't have. You know what I mean?
It's impressive.
Yeah. So financially sound.
Wait, hold on. I think I have a. There we go. All right.
Okay.
Yep.
Now we know.
And
Irony exists.
so I would say that GameStop was multiple blessings and multiple curses. But to answer your one question, it kind of expanded my horizons on a lot of things because I met a lot of people that got me into things that I never would have tried had I not met those people, right? And it helped me build some relationships too with like people that I keep in touch with who I wouldn't have met if they didn't shop at my store and like talk me into something or have me talk them into something that was like interesting. We decided to play it together. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, I would say that if anything, it broadened my horizons, but it also taught me a lot about what I dislike. And unfortunately, financially, it taught me a lot about what I dislike the
Hey,
hard way.
that can be more important. Right?
Now, whenever I
Finding
became,
out
Yeah,
what you
big
dislike.
lessons.
whenever
Sure.
I got my own store, the financial burden was lifted, but because I have trouble holding on to money, it didn't matter if they gave me the game for free because I had to have the edition that came with the statue I never needed.
Fair enough.
That's crazy. I never worked at GameStop, thank God. But
Arguably, you got the better end of the stick by working at Target in your high school years.
I did work at Target. That was the worst experience in my fucking life. I will never.
I had a couple.
Thank God I had that experience because that has taught me I never want to be a cashier. Nothing wrong with being a cashier. It makes me want to work hard and never have to be a cashier. It was awful.
I loved that part of GameStop is selling to people,
Mhm.
and I know we joke about Brink, how we convinced
That's
just
hilarious. The
We
biggest
literally
scam ever.
We're the only GameStop in Pennsylvania.
They should owe you.
open.
They should owe you commission on that game.
No, because we returned so many copies that came the next day.
That's true.
it was rough, but we were sold. Like if anything, the Brink marketing team sold me and Nate. And
What a great
and
marketing.
we in
Do you
turn
remember
just,
when we
like-
were closing up the Ross Park Mall and we
Mhm.
shipped like all the games that Gerard hated to
Mhm.
Gerard's store?
Yep. Yeah.
They would literally be like, because Gerard was the store manager at the mall right before they closed it.
Yeah.
And
Everyone
Well,
you
they
know
brought me
worked
in.
at GameStop.
yep.
Like,
It
that
is
was-
crazy.
That was it. Yeah.
Everyone you know.
I did I know this is way off topic, but like I did like a little game where
It was like
Franklin the
Match.com,
Turtle.
but for friends.
Franklin
Yeah,
the
well,
Turtle was the
it just goes
last,
to show how video games really bring people together, right?
I mean, but that's the thing is like that's with the multiplayer, with everything like that. That's what keeps us talking. And obviously with text and things like that, but like
But we
not
sent Gerard
like
all the
yeah.
copies of Vampire Rain, all the
every gift card you had to scan in every gift card and,
Yeah.
and put that in.
all the
What-
Game
what were
Boy
you saying
Advance
before,
copies
John?
of Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars. Like
There, when we were getting rid of Game Boy Advance games at the time, the last game we had was Franklin the Turtle, and I forget what happened. Like I forgot to
Love
scan
that
it
show.
or something.
Well, I remember that show.
And I don't even know if this game was based off of that. And I might
The
be
show?
Yeah, I might be.
I'm pretty sure it was
misremembering.
Franklin the Turtle, right?
yeah, that was a kid
That was a
show.
show.
Was
Yeah,
that
I
was
watched
that
that
the
one.
Game Boy Advance? It was a turtle game. I
It
don't
had
know.
to be based off that. There's no way.
But it was the last one, and I didn't want to scan it, so I took a note and said, "Whoever sells this, show me proof, and I'll send you a gift card." And I just threw it in the box, and like it apparently went around the district. Like people were like shipping it back and forth. Like you had
Yeah.
a certain amount of time to do
Yeah.
it, and like that stuff's cool, and that built like the camaraderie.
I like that.
I don't
aspect of
understand
it.
how GameStop worked, but how much money did they waste on shipping by getting dead inventory into other stores for it
Sure.
to be dead
Yeah.
inventory?
I'm the wrong guy to
Well,
ask.
I'm
mean,
looking at you because
I-
you're in the direction of my mic, but I'm
yeah.
talking to Tyler.
I think I'm going to get another drink while you reminisce.
That's fine. I did have a couple like kind of freebie fun questions, which these might apply. I don't know. I had a couple that I thought of, but did you ever tell, like for maybe like Christmas or a birthday or something, like a family member, like, hey, I want X game, and they give you something that is so not what you asked for?
My wife hates this, but my family, my mom, my dad, all my sisters, myself included, we're very big in tell us what you want and make it something that you won't buy yourself, which unfortunately for me is difficult because it has to cost a pretty penny for me not to buy it for
Right.
myself.
Yeah, exactly.
But she hates that we make these lists, but I never had that issue usually because they didn't want to do something that we didn't want because they realized that was just a waste of money at that point.
Mhm.
However, my grandmother and unfortunately your mom, John,
Yes.
are the queens
I know her.
of giving horrible gifts.
I have one locked and loaded, by the way.
Yeah? Okay.
It's ready to go.
Can't
whenever it's
wait.
done.
No,
Oh,
you're
okay,
good.
here we go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like-
so I asked for Halo 3 on Xbox 360.
Sure.
I got what did I get? I got oh man, what's the movie with Neo?
well, he's
The Matrix.
Matrix. I got Matrix Reloaded on original Xbox.
That was my first PC game.
I got Matrix Reloaded on original. I asked for Halo 3.
I
You know
mean,
how long
there
like
are
the
worse
difference-
games out there, I guess, to be fair.
I couldn't play it. I had an Xbox 360.
So
They didn't even know that it was a different console.
what was yours then, Nate?
He
My
didn't really have one.
the
Right?
game that we got that was like trash.
Yeah,
I didn't really have. one.
Oh, you're saying in
Like,
general.
yeah,
they-
like
I got
his
you.
mom and my
Runner up
grandmother.
was Sonic Free Riders for
Yikes.
Xbox Connect. It
But yeah.
was rough.
I was spoiled in that my parents would rather buy us a couple of things, and give us what we want
Mhm.
than buy us a ton of things to like have the tree look like fancy or whatever, and then us hate half of it. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it was kind of neat. There was definitely times where we were disappointed because we were spoiled and we didn't get exactly what we wanted, but we got stuff. Like it was always stuff that we wanted to get, and we were appreciative of it. And unfortunately, my parents still kind of do that, which is both a blessing and a curse because like I still get an Easter basket every year. I don't know if you do.
Wow.
Yeah,
no,
man, me
I
too.
haven't had an Easter
Fuck
basket.
yeah, man.
Yes, my mom.
My mom loves making Easter baskets.
Every year, it's just a little basket.
Mhm.
And until this year, my favorite, I didn't really like candy. So my Easter basket was a family size bag of Sun Chips, like the OG, like
Nice.
original
All
Sun
right,
Chips.
yeah, sure.
That's a good one.
This year it was double stuffed Oreos.
Ooh,
But
nice.
I got two things.
Our moms are definitely twins. I got Oreos as well. Yeah.
I got 2 things of double stuffed Oreos and a $10 gift card for Sheets that I could use for food or
Your
gas.
basket is so OP. What the fuck? I got a chocolate bunny, one Oreo, not even double stuffed. It was a single stuff, and a bag of Cape Cod original
Oh,
chips.
I lied. So I'm gonna make it worse. So
Uh-oh.
I got the 2
And I
things.
got a
of
box of
Oreos.
9.
No, actually, I got a box of 50. But
Wow. Expensive, by the way.
So I got
But,
6 Easter baskets in my life, and I got a G.I. Joe. I got a G.I. Joe.
Love that.
I got the Lion King Tiger Electronics game, like the gray and or black and white screen. You could do it. I got the Aladdin Tiger Electronics game. I got the Batman Animated Series one, and I got a new. It's like I got the original Batman Animated Series one, and then there was another Batman Animated Series that came with a pack of cards. You could swipe the card, and it would modify the game in some way. So
That's
you would,
amazing.
it was like a pack of like 50 cards, and it would be
That's
like,
amazing.
hey, now Batman has
It's like a
Catwoman's
skin?
whip or something.
Wow.
No, it would it's like gameplay changes. So it's like, oh,
Why were
Joker's
games
throwing
so
stuff
much
at you and
better
stuff.
back in the day?
But,
I don't know if
but
they
it was
were
like
better.
hard.
They
like
were
some
gimmicky.
of they were gimmicky, and it was like if they did
So much content, though.
No.
some of it would just
You don't think so?
basically break the game. So for instance, like you swipe like Mr. Freeze's card, Batman was just frozen the entire like you couldn't move.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, so it's just like you lose
Okay,
and like
okay.
stuff like that.
Fair
so they
enough,
weren't.
fair enough.
They
And
weren't
you have to
great,
think you had to
but-
buy all this. This was DLC before DLC, except the DLC also left
You just buy
clutter
the
in your
pack.
house.
I want to do an experiment though, because this is what this question stemmed from. If you want to get
Okay.
both your phones out,
Okay.
we're gonna look up Dreamcast games. Okay, just two Dreamcast games.
What's a Dreamcast?
So Dreamcast was way ahead of its time. It bridged the gap between.
So
Xbox
remember,
and-
my cousin, who I looked up to and
Yeah.
taught me about video games, had all of the systems. So I had experience with Armored Core, and that's why I knew it was Police Mechs, because that was one of my favorite games on his Dreamcast. And I loved the memory cards, how they had Sonic running when things were
Yep.
loading and stuff. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, the cool thing with not is again off topic, but the Dreamcast stuff is like similar to that Chocobo race thing that we did in Final Fantasy. Imagine if your Chocobo you could take on your memory card, and your memory card had a screen, and you could play a match 3 game just in the car on your way, and it would strengthen your Chocobo. So then whenever you plugged it back into the game, it was
That's brilliant.
faster, stronger.
Yeah, I like that.
That's
It's like
that's what it
the-
did in Sonic.
The Pokemon thing that they came out with, that little like
Yeah.
egg shit, the
Mhm.
little step, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, and Sonic, that was what, Sonic Adventure or whatever, and
Yep.
you had like the eggs, and
Like
you
the
could,
chows or
grow,
cheos
like,
or
yep,
whatever they were.
mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so Nate, since you have it out, go ahead and look up Soul Calibur for Dreamcast. If you could just
One?
give me let's say one. Like
I played
the
I
I had
main-
that on PS1, I think.
think I played 3.
whichever one was on Dreamcast, because I asked for Soul Calibur. I would just like to know whatever the Metacritic score is on that guy. If you could,
98%.
98%.
Is that
That's
audience
insane.
or
on Dreamcast?
Yeah,
Okay, now
what is that? Critic or audience?
Metacritic.
Metacritic?
Oh, so here's the thing.
Don't they-
Hang on,
don't
let me
they-
go back.
Split them into
eBay, it has a 5 out of 5 rating. Metacritic is a 98.
Click on Metacritic. I think they
I'm
split
clicking
them
on it right
into user score.
8.5 user, 98 Metascore.
I look at the
that's-
user.
Sure.
I look at the user score.
Now, John,
Yeah.
look up on Dreamcast a game called not Soul Calibur, but Soul Fighter,
Uh-oh.
and let's see what the point swing on that one is. So I actually truthfully don't know the Metacritic score on Soul Fighter, but that's what I got whenever I asked for Soul Calibur.
Jesus.
Now, to be fair, they got the right platform, but my parents opened it up and they were so excited.
Yeah, at least you could play your game, right?
That's true. I mean, that's absolutely fair. And I don't think I told
98%.
no way.
Because it's Soul Calibur.
Oh, Soul Calibur.
I
Okay,
don't even
exactly.
think it's on here.
It's
dude.
called Soul Fighter, and it's like an old
I
guy
looked it up.
and a
This-
girl on
yeah,
it.
This is it.
That's it. Yeah. So
Yes.
do they have
It's a
a
guy-
score?
They do not
I
score
do
on a
not
quick
see it
score
on. I
board.
don't
Not
see it on
even
that.
However,
a score.
eBay gave Soul Calibur
Here-
for the
here's it-
Dreamcast a 5 out of 5. They do have Soul Fighter for Dreamcast, just an eBay rating. It is a 3.8 out of 5.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's not.
Got some YouTube
It's not
videos
so
if you want to
bad.
reminisce on.
I never played Soul Calibur though. That's
To
the
be
problem.
honest with you, I feel like
Soul
this would have
Fighter
been up my
is
alley though.
rough, man.
Soul Fighter looks
that
like
what
it
you're
was an
remembering?
action adventure game.
That's it. Third person.
Mhm.
Is it? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it. I was not ready for that one. But hey, I mean,
Wow, this is something.
that was something.
Wow. Okay.
Do you guys have a game that you absolutely loved as a kid and then found out later on that critically it was garbage?
That's a good
Off the top of
question.
your head?
That's a good question. I do have a game.
Guns. It was a browser
Guns?
game. Guns.
Wasn't
I was on the internet.
It was a browser game.
Guns. Okay.
it's like, I mean, did it have
What was-
like a rating or something, or people just thought that it was a bad
it
game?
was a flash
Oh, it
game or
was
what?
so broken.
Oh, okay.
Broken as hell.
Flash game or
I don't know. To be honest with you, probably everything was on
yeah,
Flash
like,
back
like you
then.
went to a website and it
Yeah,
was like a mini game. Yeah.
Yeah, but it
So
was
a
called
flash game.
It was called GUNZ, and it was this old like anime game, and it was like an arena fighter, right? So you would have obviously guns, but then you would have like katanas and hammers and stuff, and you pick
Yeah.
your character, and there was like stuff, and this was before like I had money that I could spend on the internet, so I was getting pooped on by all these people with real life dollars who were buying like the best swords and the best weapons,
Of course.
but like there were literally game breaking moves that you could do where like you would have invincibility frames as long as you like were giving yourself carpal tunnel. So like you'd be
God.
dancing around and like doing cancels after all your animations, and it literally went like the original game. It was really cool. Like you could run around and you could sprint, and they had like wall running, and you could do like backflips and stuff. So like at the beginning, before like people realized that like the game was like completely breakable, like you could be running away from somebody who's chasing you because they're out of ammo or whatever, and they're like chasing you with your sword. You could run up a wall, backflip behind them, and then shoot them in the back with your shotgun or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it was sweet.
That's cool. Yeah.
But they never fixed any of the broken stuff, and it got to the point where like if you did like the right combinations with like your hands and legit like gave yourself carpal tunnel, you could literally fly around the map, and you'd have invincibility frames while like hitting people with your sword. So unless you effed up, you literally could just dance around people.
So it's the
with your
original
sword.
Fortnite.
Oh my gosh! Don't even get me started.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Sure,
where the ceiling is insanely high.
Yep.
That's an interesting topic. I won't get on that.
We'll,
But real quick,
that'll
I
be
will
like a
say
later
that-
on thing. Yeah, sure.
So it
The
was called
ceiling-
Guns the Duel. Sorry.
There you go.
And this is what's it call it?
Maybe it's not a flash. It looks a little bit more.
It looks like people are
in
doing
depth than
private
a
servers
Flash
because
game.
all of these videos are less than a year old.
Come back.
it's coming back.
Coming back. A
It's not,
remake.
It's not Flash anymore now.
Confirmed?
It's HTML5 or
What I will say quickly about Fortnite. We're watching this real quick. Was it a flash game?
Yeah.
That is interesting. That
we're
that
just-
is some
we're
interesting
watching
movement.
the
Yeah, we're watching the
anime Flash
video
game
of
right now. That's nuts.
this girl's
Yeah.
fucking bunny
It's
hopping.
pretty good.
What
about
I will say
Fortnite?
about Fortnite is it is, it's an interesting kind of theory with games, right? Where it's
Yep.
like there's a ceiling to games,
Mhm.
And some are higher than others. Obviously, Fortnite has one of the highest ceilings I've ever seen in a video game.
Yeah,
and I think that actually detracts from the experience because you have these people who want to just casually play the game, where it's like you shoot someone and they build a fucking mansion in
Yes.
front of your face, right? So
Yeah.
it's like it's kind of crazy, but maybe that's kind of the design. Maybe that's the battle royale problem with it, where there's so many people in the game where you're going to be playing against someone who knows what they're doing.
But see,
right?
the crazy thing is, like, it has a high barrier to entry, but like Tyler's nephew can pick it up, and we all suck at it.
But how many hours does he put into it? And what did we do when
And-
we were young?
and
Like
to be fair,
Warcraft
yeah.
3 for Tyler.
Sure.
That
Sure.
was your Fortnite. Where
And
you
I-
fucking like I bet you could own
Oh, my
a,
younger self would
a-
destroy me now. Like I
wait,
couldn't-
your younger
yeah.
self would fucking kill a 30-year-old who picked up Warcraft 3 who just wanted to play it casually.
It's interesting because it is very much a generation gap, and I know this is a whole other topic that we could spend a
Right.
ton of time on.
Right.
But that is interesting. Where to my nephew, that's like the entry level, right?
Yeah,
The
like
thing-
he's like, I'm not ninja.
Well,
Or whoever the best fucking player is.
The thing that he has trouble with is going into kind of our realm, just like we have trouble going into his, right? So, Fortnite and understanding like, oh, I'm getting shot at, that's fine. I can build a mansion around me,
Right. Right.
We can't comprehend that. I assume with practice,
there's
if we played it every
some
night, we could
stuff
get there.
That reminds me of
obviously,
that.
like no payment, whatever, like whatever the thing is that you're supposed to say, like this isn't sponsored, I'm not receiving funding, whatever. But you guys know I love like Viva La Dirt League skits. I sent you guys all like the Tarkov videos and stuff from them. They
I watched this.
do a skit from PUBG in Fortnite.
Right.
And it's 3 of the characters, like 3 of the actors, and they've spawned into their PUBG match. One of the guys brings his little brother, and he's running around, and he's hitting rocks with the frying pan, trying to get stoned.
Yeah,
and like
I actually did watch that one.
But that's the thing
that's
is,
a funny one.
my nephew's playing Apex,
Yes.
which like, oh thank goodness, like
I think that's a better
jump into
one.
that.
Yeah, just from what I know, I haven't played either.
But he's also, he understands that all his streamer people that he watches and all
Right.
the top guys are using mouse and keyboard. So now it's in his head. I am going to play
I
mouse and
am
keyboard.
interested on this kid's journey for the
I am
mouse
too.
and keyboard.
I mean,
he might be a prodigy.
It's funny because
We'll
his
see.
initial thing is, why do I have to hit shift to run? Like Fortnite just auto run. Now,
Yeah,
granted, most games
interesting.
now just gives you
Okay,
an auto run.
sure,
But like,
sure.
that's the funny thing is
Wow,
just
that's
like,
interesting.
you get shot in Apex.
Well,
you can't build
here-
anything.
here-
like you got to move. and
Here's
that's
actually
something
kind
that
of the
he's not used
interesting
to.
thing that I originally thought of when you were bringing up that example of you get shot and you fucking freak out and you do some type of maneuver. In Fortnite, it would be building a castle. In Gears of War, it would be crab walking.
oh, I
We
can
forget about
crab
that,
walk
right? We forget
like
about this.
a-
Where in Gears of War, you get shot once, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, you're just jumping
wall to
on
wall
the
to
wall.
wall to wall.
Right.
Like if you
I
were the
perfected that
best,
craft back
yes,
in the
Nate
day.
was the king. I will remember. I will put this on the record. Gears 3, maybe Gears 2. What was the map where there was a top
Yeah, I know
level
what you're
and a low
talking
level?
about.
Was that 2 or 3?
It was blood something, but it was in both 2 and 3.
Okay, I beat Nate in a 1v1. I want this on the record. On that map, it was me versus him. 1v1. I fucking shit on him for one game.
For
He-
one game.
Yes,
That's
I
how
beat
I
him
was.
once.
That's how I was with
I
Titanfall. That was
remember
one time.
I got the top and I had the sniper and I was fucking you up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, one time.
It was
just-
pissing
He beat
me
me
off,
every
too.
other
You
time.
just have to know how
The
to play,
one
Nate.
time-
If
the
you
one
can,
time.
if you
This
can
kid
play the
was
slow
really
and
good.
steady games,
He was
super
he was
easy.
playing like tournaments and stuff. Nate
Yeah.
was playing like tournaments. Like he
Yeah.
was actually cracked at the game. But my original point was like you would get shot and you would be able to maneuver your way out. Like a good player at Gears felt as unfair as kind of like a Fortnite. Maybe not as unfair, but
So-
he's like moving around the map so
But-
quickly.
But with Fortnite, with like Tarkov and stuff like that, like
Right.
we're seeing an evolution in how games are progressing in terms of like what you have to do in the game, how you control the game.
Yes.
It's not just
Yes.
Call
I
of
love
Duty every year.
Tarkov, man.
Yeah,
It's
right.
good.
But that's the
It
thing.
is fun.
You talk about
it's one of the games I would only play with a squad though,
but you talk
yeah.
about barrier of entry and like that game alone is a
Well,
completely
dude,
different
my
beast than
most
even
played game,
Fortnite.
League of Legends. That's the
Sure.
king of barrier of entry.
Right. So
Like there's 120 characters. Like how are you supposed to play that game if you're new?
and I
can't.
get this in my head. I mean, and I know,
You know what I'm saying? Like you're like, oh, I'm going to play as the
You guys
robot
have
who
both
can.
played enough Tarkov to know what the factory map is, right?
Yes, yes.
And
The,
you
the
know
PvP.
enough about to at least where you kind of are in that map. I would say
Well,
No.
are both spawns the same? Where you're like in the back room?
you're in a corner of the map,
Yes,
regardless.
yes.
There's
You're kinda in
literally,
like a
two
secluded-
spawn
yes.
areas.
for sake of argument, let's say yeah.
Sure,
I know what
sure.
you're talking
Okay,
about.
so
I thought they were mirrored,
They're-
but maybe not.
the next patch is supposed to double the size of the map. And Factory is, I think, the only map without a scav boss right now, like an NPC
Yes,
boss.
yeah.
They're doubling the size of the map, and then they're putting a guy in there, and all he has is a sledgehammer.
That's awesome.
That sounds wait.
Yeah, that
so
sounds really
so
cool.
you can double your party
I don't know what they're gonna do for the
because
spawn size.
factory is what 2v2 usually.
It's 5 to 6 players.
So it can be 3v3, but if you so what I'm saying, what I didn't like about that is like we had 4 people on and we couldn't do factory.
We could. It was just there'd be one guy, and then we had
But
the map.
but
to
now it
ourselves.
can be 4v4.
I don't know what they're expanding it to. I'd have to watch it again.
I would be
but,
down. That sounds like a lot of fun.
But the fact that this, like, at certain points in Tarkov, speaking of immersion, right? Tarkov literally goes from a shooter to a horror game as soon as the lights go.
I
off.
will never play it by myself. I hate horror games. I can't play. I can't play the Resident Evils. I'm a pussy.
I'm right there with you though, which is why
Yeah.
I think we need to play one of the Resident Evils or all the Resident Evils and just go.
Me and
we should
Rochelle?
stream it. We should stream it.
100%.
That would be
So,
really funny. Like switch off. Yeah.
Yep.
that'd be
Nobody's
fun.
ever going to listen to this podcast again, but due to just fondness of memory,
Yeah.
one of my favorite Resident Evils is Resident Evil 5.
Sure.
Really.
Yeah, Resident Evil 5 is like the atrocity that like everybody hates on, and Resident Evil 6 is arguably worse, if not worse. But
They just
I don't-
continue
I
down
don't-
the path
I don't
of
know
5.
the
Yeah.
Resident Evil kind
but
of.
me and Rochelle
hierarchy.
both enjoyed Resident Evil, and this
Mhm.
one was the first one I believe that had full campaign co-op from start to
believe
finish. You
you're
could
right.
play through the campaign.
Oh, okay,
Mhm.
that makes sense.
So me and Rochelle came home from school, or I came home from school. One of us was in college and had to come back to our
Probably you,
our
right?
parents' house, right? Well, I lived at home, but I think Rochelle might have started and had to come back.
Okay.
But regardless, we took like a night or two, right? We
Yeah.
went out to the to GameStop for a midnight launch.
Yeah.
Did not work the next day. Like I made sure that I was not involved with any of it. We picked it up for the 360 and we played it from when we got home till the end of the game. We did not go to bed.
Wow.
And I remember specifically there's this boss in Resident Evil 5 where to kill him, you need to get him into this like cremator and you need to shut the door and then cremate him to kill him. And
I played that game. Don't remember that at all. But
You
Well,
played 5 all the way
I
through?
did, yeah.
Wow, okay.
it was very specific. The reason I remember this is because it was like 4 or 5 in the morning and Rochelle was falling asleep. And I'd finally led the boss into the cremation chamber, and I got out before he was able to get out. Like I stunned him with like a slug to the head or something.
Mhm.
And Rochelle's sitting there, and her character's on the button. And I leave, and I'm like, Rochelle, push the button, and nothing happens. I'm like, Rochelle, push the button, and nothing happens. Rochelle, push the fucking button, nothing happens. I look over, she's got like a blanket on her. We're sitting in like 2 office
passed
chairs,
out.
and she's dead.
Oh, man, that's
She
that's
rallied
crazy.
though. We went and we got some
Yeah.
Red Bull.
She's a beast.
yeah.
You remember the time where I was at your house and we played through Assassin's Creed?
yeah.
We finished. It was like Brotherhood or
Mhm.
one of the good ones. That was crazy.
I remember me and my buddy Chris back in college. We played Portal. It was
Oh,
Portal 2,
that's a
and that
good
was
one.
the first one that had that. Well, I mean,
Mhm.
there's only 2, but you know what I mean. Like it,
Good
they
co-op
came out
is
with the
so
co-op.
hard to beat. Yeah,
I don't remember who I beat Portal with, but I did have to find.
I've
some
never
ways.
played Portal. I've never
You'd
played
like
it.
it a lot.
That is something we stream because that one is like it's been
We have
long
so
enough
many
that I
on the
don't
list,
remember.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like I don't remember the puzzles and stuff.
Sure,
and
sure,
whatnot,
sure.
but-
There are certain puzzles that are frustratingly difficult. Like you
I don't
have
know.
to put stuff in a weird place. But
I don't know if I would like it
But-
because I would get really frustrated.
Yeah, but see that was
it's
maybe
very
having
much
a buddy would be
we
better.
It's
played
very
that
much a
all night.
step up game because some of the puzzles are really easy and it's a really fun once you learn how to shoot yourself around places by jumping off
like
cliffs and
a little
stuff.
bit of the mechanics
Mhm.
of it. Yeah.
and this spoils one puzzle, but it was one of those things where we just kept like it like launches you off a jump and we just could not figure it out.
Right.
And at the end, we were like, "All right, this is gonna sound stupid, but what if we both launch together and we collide in midair?" And that was the solution to the puzzle. So I got launched, he got launched. It hit us in the midair. We dropped down, hit the correct platform or whatever,
Right.
and then the 2 robots hug each other. And you can do like that's part of the thing is you can do like co-op animations or whatever.
Mhm.
Right.
And that was at maybe like 10 o'clock, and then it was like 3 a.m. because we just kept playing because we loved that one so much. Like we were ready to quit.
Yeah.
And man, did that
That-
just like
that
that made
accomplishment,
it was
yeah,
amazing. And then we went to college the next morning, but
Right.
it was like we were dead tired.
Yeah.
But like
Interesting.
that I think is and that was actually one of the questions I wanted to ask you guys
Yeah.
is like in terms of like co-op
Yeah.
experiences that
That's a
stuck
good
with
point,
you.
yeah.
It's not necessarily like Call of Duty and the kind of general things, but
What do you
that was
consider
one for me.
co-op? Does it have to be you're both playing in the game?
yeah. So
Okay.
I keep going back and forth because if you say like, "Hey, what's your first co-op game?" Then like, yeah, we played,
Okay.
we
Yeah.
played
I mean,
Mario
yeah,
Brothers, right?
If it's like a mechanical thing, yeah.
Like
where
back-
you both
back
have to
in
be
your-
playing at the same time.
like back in your Babby years, it would probably be like I don't know, Ultimate Alliance or something.
Ultimate
like
Alliance was a
that.
great
loved
game. Yeah, it was
Ultimate
great.
Alliance.
Yeah, sure.
I wanted nothing else but to play as Black Suit Spider-Man.
Sure.
That's all I wanted. And Nate was like, "You can do that." I was like, "Sold." I want to play as Venom Spider-Man, dude. It's the coolest suit Spider-Man's the best.
There's something to be
Ultimate
said
Alliance
about
2 was the
that
worst
stuff.
game, but I liked it better because I could
Did
play
we
as
play
Carnage.
one? We played
We
one,
played
right?
one.
Yeah, one was the good one. But like I was saying before, like there's a lot of games where I just fucking watched my brother play, but we were playing together.
Yeah.
Where I would solve puzzles. I remember this one where I didn't play Final Fantasy VII as a kid, right?
Mhm.
I actually had, talking about my parents who went to Japan, there was this RPG that they got, which was called, in Japanese it's called Knight and Baby, but in
Okay.
American it's called Guardians Crusade. It's about you're this knight or whatever, this kid who finds this little pink monster, and you have to guide him to his mom. You got to get him back to his mom.
Sure.
Who's in this big tower, right? And it was like an introductory RPG. That was like the premise of the game, like getting kids into RPGs, like JRPGs, because it was a Japanese game. And I remember I played that with my brother. It was obviously single player, but it was very much a collaborative effort because there's so many puzzles and stuff that I solved. One of the last bosses of the game, you can't kill him unless you talk to, so like Baby is your partner, right? This little pink blob monster.
Yeah.
Who you kind of guide throughout the game. He like levels up and he can like transform and shit. It's really cool.
Lily.
But what's that?
Nothing.
Okay. The way you beat this boss is you have to go into his menu and there's a secret option where he transforms and beats this guy. And like,
Oh, that's pretty cool.
and he was fucking, he had all the legendary armor, the best shit. He was fucking this guy up and he was never dying. And there was like one point where I was like, dude, try just talking to Baby. And he's like, what? Oh, okay, I guess. Like, and then there's like triple question mark. He's like, fuck.
And then like that puts
yeah.
you in the, like you were
Yes.
suddenly a part of that game.
I was
and
like,
you,
dude,
like,
yes.
yep,
Well,
yeah,
there was a
that's
lot
awesome.
of those moments where I was like,
Yeah.
check that over here. We didn't go over here. Or remember that guy said this. That's the advantage of being the second guy.
And I
can really
think that's,
Absorb that stuff.
I would say it's just as valid as being, holding a controller and playing along with
That's
you.
a co-op experience to me.
I mean,
and-
well,
and-
that's
and
the
I
whole
think a
point
lot
of
of
what
people would
Couch Company
disagree.
is, right? Like,
Right.
like-
I think a lot of people would disagree, but I've been having a lot of fun watching you play through Final Fantasy VII and being like, oh, what if we tried this? Like, what if you put cover on Tifa and counterattack? That'd be a good combo. And you're like, oh yeah, that fucking makes sense. Or what if we put Ribbon on Red 13 so he can
Actually do
summon
anything.
Bahamut?
Yeah, sure, yeah, right.
exactly. So
No,
I like that, yeah.
I greatly, and I've already said it, but like I would not finish that game if it wasn't for like you and Kyle watching me or saying like, hey, I'm going to save you 20 minutes. Dig here.
you have to.
You know?
I mean, it's outdated. There's outdated parts, but
I guess we'll have to convince Tyler to do that on Persona 5 whenever that comes out on PC. because
it's such a good game. I can't believe Kyle doesn't like it.
Kyle doesn't like it because of the combat.
But dude, that's the best turn-based combat I've ever played.
I would
Well, you haven't
disagree with
played
you.
Grandia
I
too yet.
love
What's better?
that game.
Grandies, yeah.
I love that game.
I will
but
play that
I feel like
soon. Stay tuned for that.
I feel like Persona 5's combat's actually oversimplified.
Then Persona 4.
Granted, I was only in
Both
that
is
first
simple.
dungeon or whatever, but it
What's
was
the
like
best?
the
What's the
exact
best
same thing.
turn-based combat you ever played?
Good question.
What's the best turn-based combat you've ever played in your life?
Grandia.
Persona. Well, I haven't played Persona 5. I watched that. That's another one I watched. It was
So,
an exclusive.
You
but
you really need to put context on that because I would say
turn-based. You have a turn.
No,
and
no.
then
Yeah,
you're-
but
Listen-
you're
listen to
gonna
me.
say like four houses or whatever.
Well,
right?
think about it, right?
that's a turn-based.
So,
yeah.
It is a turn-based. If I had
counts.
to say best turn-based game I've ever played,
Yeah.
it's
It's like a-
probably
it's like
the
a
Divinity
strategy game.
series.
Oh, that is definitely turn-based. Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
what I'm saying though. Like, because Persona turn-based, I would equate more to like the old JRPG turn-based. It's just a different
Well, that's
visual outlook
yes,
of it.
that's the evolution of it. That's what. So
But-
Divinity is a good answer. I think that they've innovated on that.
I mean, Hearthstone is turn-based.
Yeah,
Yes,
That's why I wanted to
guess-
put, like-
I guess we could get there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted
That
to
is
put.
that's a card game, but yes,
Sure.
that's turn-based.
I wanted to put a limiter on it because Divinity and Persona are very different games.
Right.
I would
I would not
prefer
put Hearthstone as the best turn-based game.
Divinity
No.
or Three Houses turn-based style with like, especially since you're controlling multiple units, just like in
Yeah.
Final Fantasy and Persona.
Right.
But the reason I think Persona's combat is oversimplified is because Persona's combat is designed for you to fail if you don't one-shot the fight, excluding bosses.
I don't think that's actually True, maybe on the hardest difficulty, but the reason I think Persona is the best.
Well, you
combat-
played it on easy, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if you do not play on easy, I
Okay.
think on normal even,
Yeah.
the enemy actually does its best to try and hit you with one more.
I had trouble on easy. Like some of the final boss, because I was breezing through the game and I didn't grind ever.
Mhm.
I had trouble with some of the final bosses.
Then there's me with whatchamacallit.
yes.
At the end of the game.
I wanted to play the game and never grind. Is the thing. I didn't want to waste my time grinding. I just
So-
wanted to play right through the story, and I had trouble on the. It was challenging.
And that's how you see me
And
play Final Fantasy, which is
it was actually one of the moments I had since I was a kid where I was really fucking frustrated where I couldn't beat it, and I
Yeah.
kept bashing my head against the wall, and then I beat it, and it felt so good.
Sure.
You don't get those moments anymore because
Yeah, I mean, like
usually like
you need to replay Persona and get that like official like golden ending.
I will someday.
It's so
not.
good.
I have so much on my plate right now, but yeah, I
So
will
good.
someday. That does sound interesting. I mean, you spoiled it for me, but I would like to do.
I
that.
didn't spoil all of it.
Sure. Okay.
There's so much more
I would be down.
to unpack.
It's a great game. But what I was trying to say before is the reason I like Persona as a turn-based, because turn-based is like inherently boring to me. It's just so tough to make it interesting. But the thing, like, it's the extra things around the turn-based combat. It's not actually the mechanics. It's the music that's playing. It's the visuals that you're getting during it are
Mhm.
so fun where it keeps you invested. To me, that's why I think it's really good. You know what I mean?
See, I was going based off a gameplay aspect, and
Which
to
is
be
totally
honest with
fine.
you,
But I think the whole thing factors in because what's the goal? To keep you invested, right?
I would argue that Persona, as compared to other games, is extremely repetitive because the music is usually the same for the entire dungeon. I would say that the music in other turn-based games is exactly the same,
Right.
but
The music in Persona is so good. I mean,
in
you can't
Persona,
argue
yeah,
that.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, have you ever seen the girlfriend reviews?
I think I don't know if you sent me a Persona one, but yeah, I've seen them.
You
The
should
Persona,
see the Persona
ones,
5
yeah,
ones.
Check it
that's-
out.
That's
Yeah.
a good one.
So
That is a good one.
doing laundry. Just kidding.
The summation of it is like, this is a terrible game to watch, but if you play it, you're in.
Yeah.
Like you were fucking in.
I would visit again. Like when it comes to PC, I'm not going to act like I'm not going to get it. You know what I mean? Like I'll
you didn't
play
play
it.
the 4. 4's on Steam.
Yeah, but five I was in. Like I'm not saying I wouldn't.
4
be
was
interested in
good.
4.
the
Four still
story
holds
of
up.
good is so good.
Yeah,
The
4 holds up.
gameplay
Well,
is rough, but the story
It's
of 4
an
is
anime,
so good.
like you were saying, where you have to get through the first. Like it was very boring. The
Mhm.
first, because remember I texted you. I was like, "Is this supposed to be this boring?" Like, just got to this dude's house. Like he's just telling me what to do. It's fucking terrible.
and maybe it's just because I'm in the middle of Final Fantasy and I'm trying to go through that. And like if we play Grandia, that's going to be another 30
I
plus
can't
hours.
I
Wait,
downloaded
where-
that
where
probably
the-
4 or 5 years ago.
I remember you got it on whenever I just wouldn't show up about it. The funny
Was
thing
it,
is you bought it. I
on
still
sale?
don't own it.
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
was sale, yeah.
I need to give it a try.
I will buy it full price. I don't care. I can't wait till the roles are reversed, where you're in my
Yeah.
seat and you're like, man, I really hope he likes this part coming up, or because I'm sure you remember some of the big,
Once
Big
I start
hitters in that
seeing it
game,
and stuff
right?
like that,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's gonna flood back.
because that's how I feel. Like I'm like, oh man, here comes a huge twist. I wonder how he what do you
Yep.
think? Like
Or you
even
could be
Kyle,
like me and replay Mass Effect, which is one of your fondest memories of all time,
oh.
and not be enjoying it as
well,
much as you
well,
thought
we
you were
always
going
knew
to.
that Mass Effect 2 was your least favorite.
But like,
We always knew that.
there were parts about Mass Effect 1, which was my favorite, that I'm like, and I was kind of excited for Mass Effect 2.
Ooh.
And Mass Effect 2 is shutting the door in my face.
Who knows,
to the
man?
point where
Maybe-
you won't
maybe-
finish it.
I'm honestly like, I was addicted for a little while, and I'm struggling to want to get back into it.
Maybe see, it's because you don't have
Crazy,
the
crazy.
hype crew behind you. You need someone. You need to
The
start
hype crew is
screaming that,
important.
and then
Yeah,
you-
the hype
But-
crew is important.
Speaking of like immersion and stuff that you were bringing up earlier, right? Mass Effect 2 goes from a world where it's open and explorable to really pretty environments, but
Yep.
little puzzle pieces,
Yep.
and they give you a hard barrier. It's literally like, here's the mission, here's what you unlocked, here's your
Yeah.
experience, here's what,
And that's what me and Tyler like about it.
and that's
And that's what we dislike about 1.
yeah.
Just tell me where to go, because the strengths
You
of-
literally take the RPG out and you give it RPG elements and you make it an on-rail
Right.
shooter. And the fact that they have the shields and the armor and the element like requirements for stuff,
Yeah.
really tick me off, because it's like I don't want to carry 9 guns around just because I have to switch between the 3 of them, like to kill this guy. I just want to be able to be like, okay, he has shields, great. okay, he doesn't have shields, he's just going to go down faster. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it might be that thing where, like, I might go back to it. I might be like, oh, this
You won't.
doesn't hold
You
up
won't.
and stuff. I don't
You
think I
won't.
will either.
You
I
won't.
think I'll.
The thing I was just going to say is Mass Effect, the reason we liked Mass Effect was not because of the RPG elements. That's why we liked Mass Effect 1 the least out of all three of them. It was because of the story, the characters. That's what we like. So the linearity of it, I don't even know if that's a word. The
Gets
linear
you to the
gets you to
conclusion
what
to
you
the
want.
story.
Yes.
You ready for me
more,
to
yeah.
drop a little bit of a bomb on you, though? Mass Effect 2 reminds me of an MMO.
Elaborate.
So, you know how in MMOs, because the economy isn't controlled by the game, they have to have money sinks?
That's not always true.
But-
RuneScape.
But yeah, let's say yeah.
RuneScape.
RuneScape has money sinks. The
Well,
runes
the
are
economy
money
is controlled
sinks.
by the players.
Right.
There's
That's what
no
I'm saying.
pay to win.
The game doesn't control the economy.
The game does control the economy because the players decide what everything's worth.
So when I say the game doesn't control the economy, I
Like
mean
the mechanics of the
developer. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
The developer doesn't get
sure.
to choose how much money you earn.
Okay.
Okay. They
Okay.
don't cap it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Mass Effect 2 does that same thing with the resources and stuff, and there's just a bunch of time wasters in there. Like, instead of selecting the planet you want to fly to and there being an animation of your ship flying there, now you have to fly your ship there. But if you want to leave the orbit, like the solar system you're in, you now have to go to a fuel station and buy fuel. So you actually have to plan your trips. You have to go to this planet, grab your stuff, and then be like, okay, well, do I have enough fuel to go here and then back, or do I have to go back, grab fuel, and go out to that next planet, right? Then you
Okay.
have to buy probes, and you have to sink money into stuff. And then
Yep.
there's like the ship upgrades that you have to sink money into,
Yep.
which I kind of get, but like they don't do anything until the end of the game,
Right.
and they very much could have just not given you that money and made you sink that money into it. Like, it's very much a money sink, and I feel like it's worse now because with the online component, there were additional ways for you to earn that stuff, but now it's just all in game. So now I'm literally playing a single player RPG with no online elements, with hard money sinks in a game where they can control the total cash inflow.
I could be wrong on this, and I don't want to make this all Mass Effect, but I think part of Mass Effect 1 actually goes into your galactic readiness. I believe I read. So
Yeah.
that does supplement some of
if
that
you're
stuff.
importing a
But
save,
see, I'm
I
not
believe
talking
it's
about the
higher.
galactic readiness. I'm talking about the fact that I have to. They're giving me so much money that I have to do bullshit stuff to waste it, which is just adding to the time and time away from the enjoyable part of the game.
Well, me and Tyler were talking about this. I mean, Mass Effect 1 has the same thing where it's like the side missions are the same base, copy and pasted.
That's an.
And you're
I think that is a BioWare and EA thing, though.
sure, but
Oh,
it's,
yeah, I'm
it's
not-
the
Dragon
same thing.
Age had the
I
same
would
thing.
rather go to a random planet, money sink, which isn't that much. Like you will have plenty of money, especially if you're importing from Mass Effect 1.
Mm-hmm.
You start with a lot of money. I would rather go to a planet, take 30 seconds to do a little mini game thing where you're finding the shit and
It's a
getting the
lot more than
resources.
30 seconds.
It's
but
not. It's like a sensor thing, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of scan. Okay.
When's the last time you did it?
A minute or two.
It's
at
not
most.
30
It's not that
seconds.
long.
I'm
It's not that
I'm
long.
excited to try it, but I think this
I
is
mean, that's the worst part of the game, sure, but it's not like Mass Effect 1 where it's like, okay, go to this random planet and here's this same base you've seen 500 times.
With different crates.
Yes.
But see, like,
That's worse to me because that's going to take you 30 minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
But then you look at Andromeda, who has
Well, that's just
the
zero.
best combat,
Yeah.
Mm.
varied environments.
We talk about this all the time. It's
better
not
Mako.
that's not what makes the game good. That's not what makes the
But
game our
exactly,
favorite
but
game.
that's my point. Is
Right.
at the end of the day, like, I think every one of your arguments is valid, and that makes
That is, yeah.
that if they were going to remaster it or remake it rather, that would be something that I think that'd be
Yes.
first on the block
Yes.
to
So
look
you got
at
all
and
the
redo
bad
and
mechanics,
do
yes.
everything. Yeah.
I wish they would. I guess it wasn't. We talked about this. It wasn't worth the money.
Yeah. Well, it's EA.
They would have to
so
sink
that's-
fuck them then. But
'Cause if you think about it,
how did we get on that? What were we originally talking about?
we were talking about anything.
Just
And
anything.
we got on
Yeah.
Mass Effect. That seems to be the formula. But
I had a Mass Effect related question, which now it's kind of
what question are we on? What was the one we dropped
I mean,
off on?
that was really it. We were talking about like multiplayer experiences and stuff like
Right.
that.
I don't think we all answered. You said COD 4.
If you're talking about like online multiplayer,
Right.
like the thing that really got me
Yes.
into multiplayer would be COD 4.
And I said Halo 2.
You said Halo 2. This is tough. Like I said, did a lot of watching. So
Mhm.
COD 4, Modern Warfare 2, Evan, which is my brother, dominated the console. I didn't get a lot of experience. So it wasn't until Halo Reach / Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 that was my time. He was in college. That was my console.
You had the
You know what I
console.
mean? So that was really the time I dominated the console and got to do multiplayer. That's what I would say for that.
So how about John has actually owned Diablo since like the launch year?
Yep.
And we used to play WoW together, and then his brother and him shared an account.
Yep.
And that account still owns Diablo and has never
Just
played an
never
hour
played
of
it.
it.
So my brother like took the account from me
Sure.
because he wanted to play
As,
WoW or
as
something.
brothers do.
Yeah, it was a dirtbag move. But
He didn't want to restart his character.
No.
Evan or
Evan.
yeah, that makes sense. I played an orc in WoW. It was fun. Let me get pets and I'm on board. I mean, the best MMO I've ever played was Guild Wars 2.
Mm-hmm.
It was the most non-Nate experience I've ever witnessed, where he was like, okay, fuck the story. We're just going to go around the world and collect these pets for you and explore new territory.
I loved the environment of that
Yes.
game and like how certain like checkpoints and stuff were locked behind like puzzles
Yes.
and how like things were hidden so you could see this square on the map, but it would take you 45 minutes to figure out how
And
it was. And it was
rewarded
an
you.
underwater like cavern.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It rewarded you for exploring. We were just explorers. We were charting out the map, and I was leveling up at a nice pace.
A rewarding.
Just for
experience,
obviously we fought random monsters that were on the way, but just for exploring the map, I would level up. It would give you XP for that.
And
Like,
then I got
good
really
enough.
into PvP, and I think you played that with me a little bit
What?
too.
Nate got into the PvP
Yeah, it's
portion
for me,
of
but yeah.
the game.
He was
That
like,
sounds
"Hey, watch this,
crazy.
man! Fight me real quick," and he would kill me in one second.
But I
Yeah,
don't
was
get
like,
into
"Oh,
PvP
okay."
and MMOs. The only two MMOs I've ever gotten into PvP were Star Wars: The Old Republic,
Yeah,
and Guild Wars
yeah.
2.
Mhm.
Guild Wars 2 first, and then Star Wars
Mhm.
kind of came later. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, actually, I didn't even get into Star Wars: The Old Republic's
Right,
PvP
it was
until
your
last year.
second go
Mhm.
around on it. Yeah,
Yeah, Guild
What a
Wars
good
2 was
game.
my first RPG PvP that I enjoyed.
interesting. Not WoW. You didn't like the
Did not
the
like
battle?
WoW,
Yeah,
no.
okay.
I liked WoW at the very beginning because I played a cleric. Is that
You played a Tauren tank at first, but then you switched to heal. Like I know you like healers in MMOs. It's
Yeah.
like your favorite.
but I think
I
it was.
think you played a tank at
I
first.
think it's the
You
cleric.
always play the big beefy guy first, because in Guild Wars 2 you played the Char warrior
Yeah,
first.
mhm. I've
And then you were
gotten
like,
away
yeah.
from that because I've realized that I never.
You never enjoy it exactly. You always like on your second go around. You're like, oh wait, I actually like this better.
Yeah,
But you
so-
always used to be.
But I remember the cleric was super overpowered in like the. I want to call it Blood Gulch, but that's definitely Halo. I don't
it's
remember what
Halo
the.
2. Yes,
I don't remember what the default WoW PvP map is.
I
You
know
can get at
exactly
level
what map
10.
you're talking about.
It's
I do
the
not
only
remember what it's
map you
called.
can do.
Yeah.
But the cleric's shield, as long as you had a team that worked together, you give a druid the flag in their like cat form.
Yeah.
They can sprint. You literally just bubble shield them the whole
It's
way back.
amazing. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I
the
don't know
best thing
anything
ever.
about WoW.
And then I also enjoyed it later because the cleric get like a mind control spell, and you'll get maps where there's like bridges and then just cliffs to your death. So you like hide there to
You
guard
make
like
them-
your character with the flag. You hit them with the mind control, and you just run them off the edge of
It's
the map.
amazing.
Like Sea of Thieves, right?
Yeah.
In Call of Duty, like anything that has the active mic after you've murdered somebody, so you can hear what they're saying about you
Yep.
after you kill them. Like
Ugh.
if WoW had that, I can't tell you how many people would
Call
have
of
just been
Duty-
screaming as their mouse and keyboard start working and they watch their guns jump off the ledge.
Call of Duty is where I learned all my swear words for sure. Those lobbies.
I think, honestly, I didn't think I would like Sea of Thieves whenever I got back into it. But I think it was just like I needed something fresh, and they promised me that we would just go around and murder people all
That's what
game,
they do. Yeah.
and I had so much fun just running around, blowing people's ships up, and then hearing people like, "Why are you chasing us? Why are you doing this?" It's like, and I very much put a couple of them out of their comfort zone because I put on all the things that like literally show people where we are in the map at all times.
That
It's
is
like-
a very Nate.
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
that
Well,
makes
so
sense.
but Nate did that day one too.
Yeah,
Whenever we
right.
first played, so
Yep.
obviously we
Yep.
were outside of it, and
Yep.
then I was shocked. I thought Nate was just humoring me, where it's just like, all right, like I'll play a game with you, Tyler. You play
Right.
Tarkov,
Right.
whatever. But like you took to it. Like it's the same thing. Like you're talking about like skill caps and skill ceilings with like Fortnite and things like that.
Right.
I would argue. I mean, this that's why people are calling for like just private servers on Sea of Thieves because they don't want to deal with the people they've been playing for.
If I was trying to play
hours and stuff like
PvE
that,
Sea of Thieves, it
Sure.
would be horrible.
But that's the thing, and that's the what you get into where I don't believe Sea of Thieves has any type of matchmaking skill matchmaking,
Right.
At least not that we've seen. Like we'll have bad nights, sure, like when we fight like good people,
Right.
but more often than not, like we just get, hey, you're new, how long is this is your first night, like okay, you poor thing. Where I think that would be what I would love to see like video games evolve into, and this is a whole other conversation,
Right.
But it just seems like whenever we were kids, it was, we were just playing we were our own competition, I guess. I don't know how to put that in there, but it's essentially like, we would bash our heads against something because we had the time to do it and we would overcome things. But now it's like, you're never going to be like, however good you think you are in a game. Like if you're doing tournaments on Gears of War, if I'm doing anything in Sea of Thieves, like it doesn't matter.
Yep.
You are just the lowest of low when it comes to like there's going to be 1,000 million people better than you.
Yeah.
My
absolutely.
my nephew will always run circles around me in Fortnite. I don't care what I do. And I don't like I know me personally it's like that's a tough pill to swallow whenever like you're playing these single player games and you're doing your own thing. And like
Right.
I had to swallow that pill even with Diablo, right? Like I would play Diablo, I would clear an entire map. I would do it perfectly, methodically, and slowly. And then the moment I played with Kyle, I'd be complaining to like Chelsea, like, oh, he ruined this game for me.
Yep.
This game sucks now.
Kyle,
But, well for you.
Well, no.
rewind
So-
and forget.
But let me continue. So he ruined what I perceived Diablo to be. Just as like I was saying how I was biting my tongue where you were like, like swapping your inventory and I'm like, I want to just scream at you right now.
But you didn't.
and I didn't, but Kyle showed me a better
just with this gameplay.
a better game. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Well,
sure.
not even just with the gameplay, but he's like, hey, you don't have to worry about this. We're just gonna blast through. Like this doesn't even matter.
Sure.
Now that's a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
But when you kind of like let go and you say like, okay, let's see what this has to offer, and then like, so it's this kind of catch-22 where you don't want people to quote unquote ruin the game for you. Oh, I want to play the PvE. You're ruining this for me. You're ruining my experience. Why can't I have the experience I want?
Right.
But then on the flip side of that, if you were just by yourself on a PvE server hitting up skeletons, you're missing out on all the emergent gameplay. You're missing out on those sea chases. Like imagine if we attack somebody, hey, why are you chasing us? And they sink us somehow. That's the story they're going to tell. They're never going to tell their friends, oh yeah, and then I smashed a skeleton. No, they're going to talk about this giant galleon that rolled up on them when they're in a little boat and they somehow sunk us. Like that's the kind of stuff that makes for those good stories. So it's just like, for as much as we want to have the games that we want to play, it's how much of that do you have to kind of put on the sidelines just for like what was the developer's intention, what was their vision of the game and stuff, and can you be mad about that if it doesn't measure up to your expectations for it?
Right.
Speaking of Sea of Thieves, I found out that just to get me back into the game, Tyler and them reached out to the developers and they made an emissary, which is like a guild in that game that is built specifically for me. It's called the Reapers. Yeah, and
there you go.
you get points by killing other people, stealing their stuff, and then turning it in on a specific island where people have to come and hunt you to get their stuff back. The first night we played, we murdered people who were like doing all like the big PvE content, taking their stuff, and then they were literally coming to the fort to try and murder us, and we would murder them, go and turn some loot in, murder them, go and turn some loot in. And sometimes they even bring us more stuff, which was super nice of them.
So Nate.
but those are the stories, right?
Yes,
like it's like,
yes.
hey, we went and we sunk a galleon, we took all their stuff, and then we were literally like, it was just our ship versus like 3 other ships, and those ships had an alliance, and they were all trying to attack us, and we killed all of them at the same time. Like that's the kind of amazing stuff that is amazing with the multiplayer,
right?
But then could be the most frustrating thing in the world if you're caught on the other end of it.
I have 2 thoughts about this. So the first one I immediately thought about was I feel like what you're describing is kind of the times we're living in right now, in the fact that where you're like before it was like LAN parties, so you only
Mhm.
measured up against your friends. But now
Right.
we have access to the internet. We can see who's the best of the best. There's professional scenes for this shit.
You
know
can
what I'm
literally
saying?
watch just streamers
Right.
be gods at the game that
So
you love.
that kind of works with anything, right? Like
Mhm.
there will always be someone who's better than you, and we kind of knew that, but now we could see them.
You
in
could
real-
you could play
know,
it like
in
we
real time.
We got
or-
rolled up on
or-
by
So
a
real
streamer
quick,
and got dumpstered by
A
them.
topic for a future one of these is the game a streamer plays, like a professional, and the game we play different? And if
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
is it good different or bad different?
That's a good topic. The second point I was going to bring up is, like I was saying previously, I play League as my primary game, right? League of
Mhm.
Legends. To your point, yes, it's a completely different game at the professional level versus the level I'm playing
Well,
at.
so, and we'll hop off this just because I don't. This
Sure,
could be a whole
sure.
night conversation, but think Rainbow Six Siege. It is
Yep, same thing.
a team-oriented
Same thing.
stealth game.
Yep.
But people who are really good at shooters and have figured out the mechanics play that game like Call of Duty.
Kind of, but it's like, yes, what you're saying, like you're sneaking up on people.
But they're
When you're
sprinting.
playing, if
They're
you know
just
the mechanics
sprinting.
of Rainbow Six Siege, professionals will blow up the environment completely, like their own rooms. You know, like there's
Mhm.
destructible walls. They
Yeah.
will completely destroy everything, so they have the most vision possible because they understand the map
So-
at the prime.
But it comes down to deconstructing games
Yeah.
and
And
throwing
the
against
developers
wall
never
and figuring
thought,
out
like
stuff
the
out, right?
developers thought that we would play it like we do, but at the professional level, they never expected that.
Right. But
where
you
you-
look at games like, and I don't know why this stuck in my head whenever you were talking about like the ceiling and stuff like
Yeah,
that. But like
yeah.
you think about games like Left 4 Dead, right, where
Oh, interesting.
at some point, you know, just the meta and you understand how the game is
like
played.
speedrunners.
Well, speedrunners and like if you're playing like against like other people and you're doing the PvP stuff, where it's like, okay, I know that if I stand in this corner, I'm untouchable. I will point this way, you point this way, you point this way,
It's the double-edged sword of making
and
a
you
good
lose
game.
it. Right, but then
Because if the game's good enough, people will play it enough where they break it.
right,
That's
but
the
the
double
difference
edge.
is for a game like Fortnite, a game like Sea of Thieves,
Right.
and Rainbow, and all these like
Right.
live games, like at least they can retool it, rebalance it,
Yes,
look at the meta,
it's
and
different.
change things.
But
Yeah.
but if Fortnite wasn't as good as it was, people wouldn't be as good at it.
Right.
To where they
Sure.
completely bust the game open. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
So
Yeah.
it is a double-edged sword where you make a really good game and people sink hours and hours and hours and hours into it and develop the best strategies. So
Yeah.
But yes, that is another topic for another time.
So many topics. That was all my questions, though. I don't know what I have to like hold it for the applause. There it is. It's very nice.
Excellent.
If you hold that down, keep holding it, and then I'll just we'll like there you go.
Let it die out.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful.
So
There's a laugh track. I don't know if I'm going to keep that in there, but there's a laugh track. We'll keep it.
we can
in.
work with
That's
it.
fine.
Yeah, I think we kind of
That was it. We were
we went
all over the
everywhere.
place. That was
Yeah.
just a run down memory lane, but hopefully that gives a brief
You
glimpse
get
on
this-
where.
the nostalgia
where we
bone,
started out and
you
coming
know, you
into
can
it.
get anywhere, but
Yeah, I mean we have a ton of
So,
topics.
Thanks
coming
for
up, but-
listening to Couch Company, a Mass Effect podcast.
it is a Mass Effect. BioWare, please sponsor us.
But
Actually,
that-
EA, you're the ones who have money.
We're always going to come back to Mass Effect just because
Every
that's the
episode
game,
will have
right?
Mass Effect in it.
Oh, is
Guaranteed.
that the guarantee?
No, probably.
Oh
not.
man,
It'd be easy.
You know,
for
the
us.
next one
Amazing,
won't have
sure.
Mass Effect in it just because you said
Yeah,
guarantee.
yeah. Hey,
It'll be
maybe-
like we'll all
maybe.
forget about it.
That's what they want. They don't want to hear about this.
I'll
shit
be
again.
so
It's
jaded
2 episodes
from
of
finishing
just-
Mass Effect 2 and not wanting to start.
Guys, I
3.
dropped Mass Effect. It's the worst game ever.
cool.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. I guess we're gonna wrap it up here. We kind of hit everything ever. So
It was a good run.
We-
3 episodes.
yeah, I mean we're you know we're working with it as it goes
You now
along, and that's
know
kind of the process.
everything.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have been keeping up on game news. I think next week we pull out some of the big headlines.
Yeah.
and we'll talk through some of that stuff.
Like I said, we're working on it. We're refining it as we go, and
We don't want to do like any of the pre-podcast conversation at all.
No, I think we will leave that out
No.
forever and
Yep.
ever. And
We'll talk about we'll talk about news next week.
Yes.
We'll probably about 2 weeks we'll go through our
I
Final
kinda wanna
Fantasy
get-
spoiler cast. of-
yes, I'm really excited for that.
I will
I kinda wanna
pretend
get
to know
to-
what's going on
Yeah.
and then tell you about how 8
If
is
anyone
worse,
is
but
good
I remember it as
at
being better.
pretending to be interested in things, it's you. It's Nate. He is as a good salesman, he's very good at pretending about being interested. But yeah, we'll get into that in future episodes. I would like to get into more games that we do, some improv stuff. We'll start working that in. I think that'll be fun.
Get a fourth in our rotating chair here. And
yes,
do like
we'll get a fourth. I think a guest would be good. But
let me know whenever you're going to do the Star Wars Galaxies episode, and I'll bring Ryan so you two can talk.
Oh
and
my
John
gosh,
and
you guys can just sit back and we'll regale you.
I would be in,
of
man, because that sounds like the
days.
best time ever.
Yeah.
But not to get ahead of ourselves. All right, so we will be back next week.
Gerard wants to do one
next
still
week.
too.
We got
And
so much coming.
We have a lot of friends to get in. Yeah, it'll be exciting.
But remember, Gerard, we just say what day, and
he
we'll
wants
make it
to do
happen.
one.
I know.
Gerard said, "I want to do a podcast."
That's what I'm saying.
He gets
so,
he has to pick the topic now.
So we
He
gotta
has
figure
to pick
that
the
out.
topic.
All right.
He's very finicky, but yes, next week we'll be back. We're trying to do a weekly thing. We're trying to work with this, see what our style is. So we appreciate you bearing with us, and we'll be back next week and new topic.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right. Bye.